before the world you know, before kingdoms rose and fell, before humans carved names into stone, there was something else, something hidden, something alive, a force older than time itself, a force the world could not see, yet it could feel. They call it the veil. The veil is the boundary between two realities, the world you live in, concrete, steel, blood, time, and Arcana, a realm of raw, conscious energy, flowing through invisible currents, waiting for those who can hear it, sense it, and master it. Arcana is not simple magic. It is the fabric of reality itself, and it answers to few. Those who can wield it are called arcanists, the hidden world. Within the veil exists a sanctuary of knowledge and power, the citadel of Etherian, the last bastion where arcanists are trained. Here, young initiates learn how to harness elemental, light, shadow, and mind arcana, how to survive extreme training that pushes body and mind beyond human limits, how to prepare for a war that has raged unseen for centuries. Training lasts 9 years. Only a fraction of initiates survive fully, mastering their arcana without succumbing to its toll. The orders. The citadel is divided into 3 major orders. 1. Luminary Conclave, Masters of Light Arcana. Healers, Defenders, Shield-bearers. A power costs lifespan. They absorb others' pain to protect the world. 2. Umbral Covenant, Shadow Arcana Wielders. Assassins, Mind-benders, Fear Architects. Manipulate darkness. Cost is the erosion of identity and sanity. 3. Veil Sentinels, Neutral Guardians. Elemental and spatial arcana experts. Maintain balance, pay heavy physical tolls. Power Awakening. No one is born with power. To awaken, each initiate must face the obsidian sigil, a living artifact that resonates with the veil. If the veil responds, a mark appears. If it does not, memories are erased. The initiate returns to the human world, forever unaware of what they could have become. The threat. For centuries, balance held, until whispers began. A rogue faction, the Eclipse Ascendancy, emerged from within the shadows of the Umbral Covenant. Their goal? To tear the veil apart, flood humanity with raw arcana, and let chaos reign. At the center of it all, the Void Sovereign, a no face, a no past, only prophecy. Even the Citadel does not fully understand its power, yet it watches. The prophecy. When the veil trembles for the 3rd time, a child without lineage shall awaken. Neither light nor shadow, but something older. Somewhere in the human world, the pulse has already begun. The veil shifts, and the Citadel has begun to watch. This is only the beginning. The morning was quiet, almost too quiet. Sunlight seeped lazily through the half-open blinds, painting long, golden streaks across the cluttered room. For Aaron Vale, 16 years old, this was ordinary. Or at least, it should have been. Yet, something felt off. A vibration ran beneath his feet, not from the old wooden floor, nor from the hum of the city outside, but something deeper, older, almost alive. It pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat. A heartbeat he could feel, not hear. Aaron paused mid-step, one hand on the doorframe. The pulse grew stronger. It wrapped around him, curling into his chest, tugging at his consciousness. He blinked rapidly, trying to shake off the sensation, telling himself it was just a dream, just imagination. But it was no dream. Shadows in the room stretched unnaturally. Objects trembled ever so slightly. Even the air felt thick, vibrating with an energy that whispered promises of power, danger, and change. Aaron's vision blurred for a moment, and in the blur, he saw shapes that shouldn't exist. Towering spires of light, oceans of dark mist, figures moving in impossible ways, floating in a sky that was not his own. He gasped, and in that gasp, the pulse sank deeper, embedding itself into his mind. Somewhere, in a place he could not name, the veil had stirred. It was old, ancient, aware, and it had chosen to make contact. "Am I losing my mind?" Aaron whispered, clutching his chest. A warmth, almost comforting, spread through him. It felt alive, protective, calling. A whisper, just on the edge of perception, reached him. "You are ready, soon." And then it was gone. For a brief moment, everything seemed normal again. The sunlight fell like before. The city outside moved as if nothing had happened. But Aaron knew it had. Something had changed. And there was no turning back. Aaron couldn't shake the feeling. Every step he took across the old wooden floor of his bedroom seemed to resonate with the same rhythm, the subtle, insistent pulse that had touched him that morning. He paused beside his desk and ran his fingers across the worn surface, feeling it tremble lightly beneath his touch. A shiver ran down his spine. Something was awake, somewhere, and it was calling him. His eyes darted toward the mirror across the room. For a brief second, he thought he saw a flicker of light behind his reflection, like a shadow bending unnaturally, forming shapes he couldn't recognize. He blinked rapidly. The reflection was gone, replaced by the mundane room he knew so well. And yet, he felt it. The pulse grew stronger, resonating in his chest, curling like a vine of energy around his ribs, coiling into his lungs, wrapping itself into his heart. Aaron's breathing quickened. He clasped his hands over his chest, trying to ground himself. "This isn't real," he whispered. But even as he said it, he could feel the faint warmth of something alive beneath his skin. It was almost comforting, yet frightening, like the world itself had begun to acknowledge him. The air in his room shifted. A soft vibration hummed through the walls, subtle, almost imperceptible, but enough to make the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. The shadows in the corners of the room stretched and contracted like living things. Objects trembled lightly. The glass of water on the nightstand rippled, even though the room was still. Aaron stepped back, wide-eyed. "Is it me?" He asked no one. The pulse surged again, faster this time, as though it had heard him. A faint glow began to appear on his palms. Barely visible, but undeniably there. He recoiled. No, this can't be. It wasn't pain, but it was intense. A gentle warmth that grew sharper when he focused on it, like a whisper nudging his very soul. Aaron tried to remember the lessons from the science books he loved: electricity, energy, magnetism. But this wasn't science. It defied logic, bending reality just slightly at the edges of his perception. For a brief moment, the room changed. The walls seemed to stretch, the ceiling rose, and the familiar city sounds outside were muffled, replaced by silence. Absolute, profound silence. Then, a flicker. Through the faint shimmer in the air, Aaron saw shapes, towering structures of light, flowing streams of dark mist, figures moving as if the laws of gravity had forgotten them. His heart raced. His mind struggled to grasp what he was seeing, yet the images were not frightening. They were calling him. Aaron fell to his knees, clutching the floor. "What are you?" he whispered. And in that instant, the pulse inside him shifted, stronger, more insistent, wrapping around his consciousness, tugging him toward something he didn't yet understand. That night, the pulse returned, stronger, insistent, demanding his attention. A dream awaited him, one that would reveal the first true glimpse of Arcana and the hidden world waiting just beyond the veil. That night, Aaron could not sleep. Every sound, the distant honk of cars, the rustling of leaves outside, felt muted, filtered through some invisible layer of reality. The pulse returned, stronger, vibrating through the floorboards, through the walls, through him. It was no longer a whisper. It was a call. Aaron closed his eyes, letting it guide him. The world around him dissolved. He awoke, somewhere else. Not in his room, not even in the city. He stood on a platform of polished obsidian that stretched into a foggy expanse. Above him, the sky swirled with silver and violet clouds, streaked with shafts of molten light that danced like rivers of energy. The air shimmered with faint currents of motion, flowing, twisting, alive. Aaron's heart raced. He felt weightless yet tethered to the obsidian platform beneath his feet. He could hear whispers, soft, distant, and yet intimate. Words he could not understand, but somehow, they made sense. Then he saw them. Figures, indistinct at first, floated through the mist. Tall, elegant, cloaked in shimmering robes of light and shadow. They moved with purpose, their hands tracing arcs in the air that left trails of glowing symbols, energy bending, reshaping, alive. Aaron instinctively stepped forward, and the platform responded. It extended, carried him toward the figures, guiding him as if the world itself recognized him. "This is not real," Aaron whispered. Yet the pulse in his chest said otherwise. It was real. More real than anything he had ever known. He felt a tingle along his spine, a warmth spreading from his heart. Energy, raw and conscious, brushed against his senses, testing him, inviting him. Aaron lifted his hands, and instinctively, a small orb of soft blue light emerged, hovering above his palm. It was delicate, fragile, yet undeniably his. The figures noticed. One stepped forward, a mentor, perhaps, or a sentinel of this strange realm. Its eyes glowed faintly, and a voice echoed in Aaron's mind. "You are marked. The veil has seen you. Arcana stirs within. But beware, what awakens must also learn restraint." Aaron's breath caught. Who are you?" he whispered. "A guardian, and a guide. But your journey will not be gentle," the voice said. "Shadows are watching. The pulse you feel is not alone." The vision shifted. Through the mist, glimpses of looming towers, storm-lit skies, and twisting labyrinths flashed by. He saw flashes of beings cloaked in darkness, shapes moving with purpose, wielding energy like blades of night. A voice, deeper and more menacing than the first, whispered barely audibly, "Soon, all will tremble at the void sovereign." Aaron shivered. The orb in his palm flickered, then dissipated. The mist closed in. The obsidian platform vanished. He gasped awake in his bed, the night quiet again. Yet his hands tingled. The warmth lingered. The pulse remained. The first true glimpse of Arcana had left him changed. Something ancient had reached out. And the world he knew, the city, the mundane, the safe, was no longer the world he belonged to. The veil was aware. And Aaron Vale had been chosen. Aaron woke gasping, sweat clinging to his brow, heart racing like a drum in a silent forest. His room was ordinary again, or so it seemed, but the warmth in his hands refused to vanish. He flexed his fingers slowly, expecting nothing, and then it happened. A faint glow, soft and blue, flickered from his palms like a living flame. Aaron froze, staring at the light as it pulsed rhythmically, almost in tune with his heartbeat. The sensation was intoxicating, warm, yet alien. It called to him, teasing him, whispering possibilities he did not yet understand. This isn't real, he muttered, voice trembling. But deep inside, a part of him knew the truth. The vision, the pulse, the orb, everything had been real. The veil had reached out. The Arcana had chosen him. The glow intensified slightly, responding to his concentration. Aaron inhaled sharply, then exhaled, trying to calm the torrent of fear and awe inside him. The room seemed to respond too. The shadows shifted as if bowing, stretching along the walls, reaching toward the light in his hands. A single droplet of water from the glass on his desk levitated slowly, rotating in midair, suspended by the invisible energy surrounding him. He stumbled backward, falling onto the floor. Panic surged, yet beneath it was a flicker of wonder. I can control it. Somehow. Aaron tried again, focusing hard, whispering to himself. Stay. Don't fade. The orb stabilized, hovering perfectly above his palms, glowing brighter with each heartbeat. He laughed nervously, a short, unsteady sound. I'm not crazy. The pulse in his chest grew stronger. It was no longer subtle. It demanded attention, urging him to understand, to act, to explore. Aaron's mind raced. Thoughts of science, logic, and the mundane world collided with this undeniable proof of something beyond comprehension. If this is real, then everything I know is a lie. The air smelled different, metallic yet sweet, like ozone after a storm. Colors seemed sharper, richer, shadows deeper, almost alive. A soft hum filled the room, vibrating through his bones, syncing with the pulse in his chest. Aaron's fingertips tingled as arcs of light flickered from the orb to his skin, leaving trails like living energy dancing across his arms. He could feel every particle of air moving around him, responding to his thoughts and emotions. It was beautiful, terrifying, and dangerous. A sudden crack of sound made him jerk upright. The orb flickered violently, then stabilized again. Aaron's eyes widened as he noticed a small object, a book on his desk, levitating, spinning slowly, as if gravity no longer held sway over it. His heart pounded in terror and excitement. It's me. I did this. He set his jaw, forcing control over the surge of energy. Concentration, patience, calm. He remembered the whispers from the dream. Restraint. Slowly, the book descended, landing softly on the desk. Aaron's hands shook as he lowered them, but the glow in his palms lingered, dimmer now, pulsing gently. He sank to the floor, exhausted, breathing hard, sweat clinging to his skin. Emotion tore through him in waves. Awe, fear, wonder, and something else, an excitement he couldn't name. The world he had known, ordinary, predictable, safe, was gone. And he had stepped into something infinite. What am I becoming? He whispered. Who am I really? Questions tumbled over each other in his mind, unanswerable yet urgent. He could feel the pulse continuing, deep inside him, a rhythm older than life itself. Every instinct in his body screamed at him, learn, grow, survive, master it. For the first time, Aaron felt the weight of destiny. He was chosen, marked by the veil, and nothing, no city, no friends, no family, would ever be enough to anchor him in the life he had known. He was already part of something larger, something ancient, something beyond comprehension. Aaron's fear and determination collided. He extended his hands, palms up, whispering the only word that came to him, "Stay." The orb responded explosively. A sphere of radiant light erupted above his palms, brighter than before, casting shadows across the room like living fingers of energy. The air buzzed, objects trembled. Aaron's pulse synced with the sphere, his heartbeat amplified in resonance with the Arcana inside him. It was not control, it was connection. Aaron Vale, ordinary boy of 16, had touched the veil, and in doing so, He had changed. As the glow faded to a gentle pulse, Aaron realized he was not alone. A faint shadow flickered in the corner of the room, just a silhouette, almost imperceptible. It did not move, but he felt its presence. A warning, a promise, a whisper from something older, darker, and waiting. The veil had awakened him. And now, something beyond the human world was watching. The night had grown still outside Aaron's room, yet he could not shake the lingering pulse inside him. Every fiber of his being vibrated with the arcana he had glimpsed hours ago. He sat on the edge of his bed, hands trembling, staring at the faint glow that still lingered in his palms. Then, curiosity overcame caution. Aaron stood and moved toward the window, careful not to think too hard, yet unable to resist the urge to test his newfound connection. He placed both hands on the glass. The faint blue glow pulsed stronger, reaching outward, seeking contact with the world beyond. The street below was quiet. Only the occasional car passed, tires humming against the asphalt. Yet something shifted. A small paper bag, discarded near a lamppost, lifted slightly, hovering in the air. It wobbled, then spun slowly. Aaron gasped, stumbling backward in shock. No, this can't be. The night air felt charged, heavy with the pulse of energy. Even the faint rustle of leaves seemed synchronized with the rhythm of Aaron's heartbeat. A small gust of wind swirled around his room, carrying the scent of ozone and rain, sharp and metallic. Every shadow seemed to dance subtly, bending toward the glow of his palms. Aaron tried to withdraw his hands, but the pulse had become insistent. It wrapped around him like a living coil, tugging, urging, demanding that he focus. His mind raced. Panic and exhilaration collided, leaving him breathless. A glowing orb rose between his palms again, brighter than before. It hovered, spinning slowly, casting intricate light patterns across the walls. Then, instinctively, Aaron pointed toward the street. The floating paper bag shot upward like a rocket, spinning in midair before drifting gently down. A street lamp flickered in response, shadows stretching and quivering as if reality itself had been nudged. Aaron staggered backward, heart hammering, sweat slick on his skin. What is happening? He whispered, voice trembling. His mind raced with fear, awe, and wonder. The arcana was no longer subtle. It was alive. It responded to him. And it could reach out beyond the confines of his room. He realized the magnitude of what had happened. Even a small act, a flicker of energy, had affected the world outside. Someone, anyone, could see this. Someone might notice. And some part of him, the part he couldn't ignore, whispered that not all eyes that watched the veil were friendly. The orb shrank and pulsed once more, then settled above his palms. A faint whisper threaded through his consciousness. The pulse has touched the world, and it is noticed. Aaron shivered, gripping the bedpost. The room was silent again, the street outside dark and empty. But the whisper lingered. Something, or someone, had watched. The veil had responded. The unseen threads connecting him to the arcana had extended further than he realized. And in doing so, they had drawn attention. A shadow moved at the edge of the street. Not human, not entirely, but humanoid in shape, blurred and dark, like ink dissolving in water. It paused, and Aaron felt a cold pulse run through his chest, separate from the arcana within him. A warning, or perhaps a promise. The orb flickered in his palms, almost like it recognized the presence. Aaron's breath caught. His pulse thundered. The world he thought he knew was no longer safe. The veil had chosen him. And someone, or something, was watching. Aaron sat on the edge of his bed, hands still tingling from the pulsing orb. The shadow outside had vanished, or so he thought, but a lingering chill ran down his spine. He wanted to dismiss it as imagination, but deep inside, he knew the pulse he had felt, the orb, and the whispers were all real. Suddenly, a knock echoed through his room. Slow, deliberate, not human, not accidental. He froze, holding his breath. Who's there?" he whispered. No answer, only silence. Then the room shifted slightly, as though the air itself moved. A faint glow appeared in the corner, soft at first, then stronger, revealing a figure cloaked in shimmering robes of silver and indigo. Aaron's pulse raced. The figure's presence was calm, yet commanding. It radiated authority and knowledge, the kind that made time feel smaller, slower, and infinitely deep all at once. "Do not be afraid, Aaron Vale," the voice said. It wasn't spoken aloud. The words resonated directly inside his mind, clear and intimate. "I am here to guide you, but you must first understand what you have awakened." Aaron's mouth opened, but no words came. He swallowed hard, nodding slowly. The figure stepped forward, and the orb in Aaron's hands responded, glowing brighter as if recognizing the presence. The room itself seemed to stretch, shadows and light bending subtly around them. Aaron could feel a warmth spreading through the floor, the walls, even the air around him, as though the house itself acknowledged the newcomer. "The veil has stirred," the mentor continued. "It is a living force, ancient and aware. It observes, tests, and chooses. You have been chosen." Aaron's chest tightened. "Chosen? For what?" he whispered, voice barely audible. "To master what lies within you. To see what others cannot. To face what others would fear," the figure replied. "Arcana is energy, consciousness, and potential all at once. It responds to your will and your emotions. Fear, anger, hesitation, they all shape it. Control comes not from strength alone, but from understanding and patience." The mentor raised a hand, and the orb in Aaron's palms expanded slightly, spinning with a rhythm like a living heartbeat. "Focus, Aaron. Feel the pulse inside you. Do not resist it. Let it guide, not dominate. This is your first lesson." Aaron inhaled, closing his eyes, trying to sync with the energy. The warmth in his hands intensified, reaching up his arms, threading into his chest, and pulsing like a second heartbeat. He felt a connection, to the veil, to something larger, something old and infinite. "Good, now try to shape it," the mentor whispered. A small wisp of light emerged above Aaron's palm, a miniature representation of the orb he had seen before. It swirled, responded to his subtle hand movements, and settled gently, hovering as if waiting for permission to grow. Aaron opened his eyes, staring at it in awe. I did that?" he asked, disbelief in his voice. "Yes," the mentor replied, "but this is only the beginning. Every action echoes. Every thought shapes what you can summon. Arcana is not just power, it is responsibility." Aaron sank to the floor, still holding the orb above his palms. Emotion swelled inside him: fear, exhilaration, curiosity, and a strange, unnameable hope. He realized that life as he knew it had ended. The city, his friends, his routine, they were fragments of a past that no longer belonged to him. "What am I becoming?" he thought. "Can I even control this? Or will it control me?" The mentor crouched beside him, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "You are not alone, Aaron Vale. There will be guidance, allies, and tests. But know this, the veil watches. The world is wider, older, and far more dangerous than you imagine. And the shadows, they are already moving." The glow in Aaron's palms pulsed one final time, and the room seemed to respond. Shadows twisting, objects vibrating softly. Outside, somewhere in the darkness, a figure moved. It was fleeting, almost imperceptible, yet unmistakable. Aaron felt the pulse in his chest spike sharply. "They know," the mentor's voice whispered, calm yet serious. "And they are coming." Aaron swallowed hard, the weight of destiny pressing down on him. The orb hovered above his palms, alive, waiting. And the world he had known had vanished forever. The night outside was thick, dense with the quiet hum of the city. Inside, Aaron sat on the edge of his bed, the orb still pulsing softly above his palms. The mentor's words echoed in his mind. "The shadows, they are already moving." Aaron's pulse quickened. He strained his ears, listening to the faintest sound, the whisper of wind through leaves, a soft shuffle in the street below. Something was different, subtle, but alive, watching. He leaned closer to the window. The street was dark, empty, save for the dim glow of street lamps flickering gently. Yet, at the corner of his vision, he saw it, a shadow moving against the natural flow of light. Not a person, not quite a creature. Something fluid, bending, almost like ink spilled in the air. Aaron froze, breath shallow. The orb in his hands pulsed stronger in response, reacting to the unseen presence. It wrapped itself around him in a cocoon of soft blue light, protective yet warning. "Who? What are you?" Aaron whispered, voice trembling. The shadows outside were not ordinary. They slithered along walls and streets, twisting unnaturally, stretching and contracting like liquid darkness. Every instinct in Aaron's body screamed at him, "Run, hide, focus." He could feel the energy in his chest spike, the veil tugging him toward awareness, demanding attention. The orb grew brighter, spinning faster, casting intricate patterns of light across the room. Shadows within the room reacted, bending away as if in fear or acknowledgement. Aaron's heartbeat thundered in his ears, almost in sync with the orb's pulse. He raised a trembling hand, whispering, "Stay, protect." The orb responded, flaring, expanding into a sphere of radiant energy that enveloped him. The shadow outside recoiled slightly, then disappeared into the deeper darkness of the night. Aaron sank to the floor, chest heaving. Fear, awe, and uncertainty collided in his mind. The world he had stepped into was alive, reactive, conscious, and dangerous. The veil had chosen him, yes, but he was not alone. And already, there were forces watching, testing, probing. I have to learn," he whispered, voice barely audible. "I have to control it, before it controls me." He glanced at the orb floating above his palms. It seemed calmer now, pulsing softly, but the warmth remained. It was a reminder. The energy was alive, aware, and connected to something much larger than himself. Aaron's mentor appeared beside him again, a calm presence amid the storm of fear. "The disturbance you felt is only the beginning," the figure said. "Shadows are drawn to the pulse. They are agents of something far older, something that does not forgive weakness." Aaron swallowed hard. "Are they enemies?" he asked. "Not yet," the mentor replied, voice gentle but firm. "They are scouts, observing, testing, and one day, they will strike." The mentor's hand hovered above the orb, guiding its glow subtly. "You must learn to sense them, to anticipate them. Arcana is not just power. It is perception, instinct, and control. The veil will teach you, but the shadows will challenge you." A sudden chill swept through the room. The orb pulsed violently, reacting to an unseen presence. A faint whisper threaded through Aaron's consciousness, indistinct but urgent. They are closer, and they are watching. A flicker at the edge of his vision. A dark figure, humanoid yet indistinct, paused at the far end of the street. It melted into the shadows, leaving only the faintest ripple of darkness behind. Aaron's chest tightened. The mentor's voice, calm yet warning, echoed in his mind. Prepare yourself. The veil has awakened you, but the shadows are already moving. Aaron clenched his fists, the orb hovering above his palms, glowing brighter than ever. He realized the truth. The adventure, the danger, the unknown, it had begun, and the world would never be the same. The orb floated above Aaron's palms, its soft blue light pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He stared at it, still trembling from the encounter with the shadow outside. The city beyond his window seemed calm, unaware of the stirrings of unseen forces. Yet Aaron knew the truth. Calm was deceptive. Danger lurked. Always. The mentor's presence beside him was steady, calm, and commanding. You felt them tonight, the figure said, voice resonating inside Aaron's mind. The shadows. They are drawn to Arcana, to power, to life that pulses with energy. They watch and they learn. You must be prepared. Aaron nodded slowly, hands still trembling. I don't even know how to control this, he admitted. I'm scared I'll lose it, or worse, that it'll attract something I can't face. Fear is natural, the mentor replied. It is a guide, not a master. Arcana responds to emotion, yes, but clarity comes from understanding, not panic. The mentor extended a hand, and the orb hovered closer to them both. First, you must sense the energy within you, the figure instructed. Close your eyes. Feel your heartbeat. Feel the pulse in your chest. It is not just yours, it is part of the veil, part of Arcana, part of the world beyond sight. Aaron did as told. He closed his eyes. The warmth in his chest expanded, flowing outward like liquid light. His hands tingled. The orb responded, spinning slowly, glowing brighter with every beat. Good, the mentor said. Now, breathe. Control comes from rhythm. Inhale, exhale, sync with the pulse. Do not force it. Guide it gently. Aaron focused. Inhaled deeply. Exhaled. The orb pulsed with him. Every beat, every breath, every thought shaped its glow and movement. This is your first lesson. Arcana is a dance, not a command, the mentor continued. Force is reckless. Control through understanding, through patience, through harmony with the pulse inside you. The mentor's hand moved subtly, tracing patterns in the air. Aaron mimicked, unsure at first. The orb followed, responding to his movements, spinning and flowing along the paths his fingers traced. It grew, shrank, arced across the room in elegant patterns. Good, the mentor praised. Do you see? Your intent shapes Arcana. Your emotion fuels it. Anger will erupt. Fear will waver. Calm, patience, understanding, they refine it. Aaron felt a surge of pride and awe. He raised both hands, guiding the orb in a circular motion, creating a spiral of light above him. The shadows in the corners of the room shifted subtly, bending away from the radiant energy. It was beautiful and powerful. Remember, the mentor's voice echoed gently. Every action leaves a ripple. Arcana is not just a tool, it is alive. Every pulse, every movement, every thought matters. Respect it, or it will teach you harshly. Aaron sank back onto the floor, exhausted yet exhilarated. His chest still pulsed with the rhythm of the veil, his hands tingling, orb still hovering softly. He realized the stakes. The power he had glimpsed, touched, was real, alive, and demanding responsibility. I can do this, he whispered to himself. I have to. I can't let fear control me. The mentor nodded, approving, but not satisfied. This is only the beginning. You will face trials, distractions, and dangers. The shadows outside are patient, watching. They will test you. But tonight, you have learned your first lesson. Harmony, control, understanding. Remember it. The room dimmed as the orb slowly settled above Aaron's palms, pulsing gently in sync with his heartbeat. Outside, a faint shimmer appeared at the edge of the street, a distortion in the shadows, a reminder that the unseen threat was still there. The mentor's final words echoed in Aaron's mind. Rest now. But know this, the veil has awakened you, and the shadows will not wait. Aaron clenched his fists, resolve hardening. The adventure, the danger, the responsibility, it had begun. And tomorrow, he would learn more. Aaron sat on the edge of his bed, orb still hovering above his palms, pulsing softly. The city outside remained quiet, but the lingering sense of unseen eyes gnawed at him. The mentor's words echoed. The shadows are watching. They will test you. A sudden chill rippled through the room. The orb reacted immediately, spinning faster, light intensifying. A flicker of shadow at the edge of the street caught Aaron's attention. It moved unnaturally, fluidly, like ink dissolving in water, humanoid in shape but impossibly formless. Across the street, in the shadows near a street lamp, a figure had paused. Its eyes glowed faintly red, observing the small blue light that had emanated from Aaron's room moments ago. It muttered under its breath, words incomprehensible but imbued with a strange resonance. A pulse of energy seemed to pass from Aaron's room to the figure, a ripple of the veil responding to his presence. Aaron froze. His chest tightened. They can see it, he whispered, fear mixing with awe. The orb above his hands pulsed violently in warning. It was more than responsive, it was alive, protective, aware of the threat approaching. The street outside shimmered subtly, as if reality itself recognized the Arcana manifesting. The air smelled faintly of ozone and metallic rain. Shadows twisted, bending unnaturally, responding to the unseen energy flow. Every hair on Aaron's arms stood on end. He could hear faint whispers in his mind, faint echoes of the veil communicating, cautioning, guiding. He raised his hands instinctively. The orb expanded slightly, then split into 3 smaller spheres, spinning in controlled patterns above his palms. The effect was subtle yet visible. A faint bluish glow spread outside the window, highlighting the observer in red shadow. The figure flinched, but did not retreat. Aaron swallowed hard. I didn't mean. The shadowy figure moved closer. Its form solidified slightly, humanoid but still shifting like smoke. A voice whispered in Aaron's mind, alien yet understandable. Power belongs to those who take it. You cannot hide. Aaron's heart pounded. The mentor appeared instantly beside him, calm yet commanding. Focus, Aaron. Do not panic. Remember the lessons. The orb is your guide, your shield. Control it. Control yourself. Aaron closed his eyes. The pulse inside him throbbed with life, syncing with his heartbeat, and the orb responded. He imagined a shield, a barrier of light surrounding him and his room. The 3 spheres coalesced, spinning faster, forming a luminous dome that pushed against the shadow outside. The figure recoiled slightly, a hiss echoing in Aaron's mind. It was testing him, probing him, and the orb flared brighter, pushing back instinctively. Aaron sank to his knees, exhausted but exhilarated. Fear, awe, and determination warred inside him. He realized the truth. The world outside was no longer safe. His actions, Arcana manifesting, could attract attention, friend or foe. "I can't run from this," he whispered, sweat slicking his forehead. "I have to learn, to master it." The mentor placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "This is your first trial. The shadows will test, the veil will guide. Remember, perception, control, harmony. Never force it. Let it flow through you." The figure outside paused at the street's edge, then melted back into darkness, leaving a faint ripple behind. Aaron's orb glowed softly, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The mentor whispered, calm yet grave, "They are watching, Aaron Vale. And soon, they will strike where you least expect it." Aaron clenched his fists. The pulse in his chest thrummed louder than ever, the orb spinning above him, alive. He realized one undeniable truth. The veil had awakened him, but the world beyond his room was already dangerous, alive and waiting. And the shadows were closer than he had imagined. The room was silent except for the soft pulsing of the orb above Aaron's palms. His heart still raced from the encounter with the shadow outside. He knew now that the veil was alive, aware, and connected to the world beyond his room. And tonight, he would face his first true test. "Aaron," the mentor's voice resonated softly inside his mind. "You have learned the basics, perception, control, harmony, but understanding comes from practice. You must act." Aaron's eyes widened. "Act? What do you mean?" he asked, voice trembling slightly. "You will shape the Arcana into form," the mentor replied. "A construct, a shield, a tool, whatever your mind can hold. Let it respond to your intention, your focus. This is your first challenge." Aaron's palms tingled, the orb spinning faster, pulsing in time with his heartbeat. The mentor stepped back, eyes glowing faintly with soft silver light, observing silently. "Focus your mind. Fear and hesitation will disrupt the flow. Calm, clarity, patience," the mentor instructed. Aaron closed his eyes, inhaled slowly, and centered himself. He pictured a barrier of light, a dome to surround him, a shield against any unseen threat. The orb responded, expanding and contracting in rhythm with his pulse. A faint breeze stirred in the room, carrying the scent of ozone and soft rain. Every shadow seemed to lean toward the orb, curious, reactive. Aaron felt a surge of energy, warmth, and a tingling rush of anticipation. "Now, form it," the mentor whispered. Aaron extended his hands, palms outward. He imagined the energy stretching, flowing from his chest through his arms, into the orb. The blue light expanded, spinning in complex patterns above him, arcs of energy like threads weaving through the air. He wavered, concentration faltering. The orb flickered violently. Shadows in the corners of the room trembled. "No, I can't lose control," he muttered, gripping the edge of his bed. The mentor's calm voice cut through the panic. "Do not fight it. Guide it. Flow with it. Arcana is not a weapon, it is a reflection of your mind and heart." Aaron took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, and focused again. The orb stabilized, expanding into a soft, glowing dome above his palms. It shone brighter than ever, casting intricate patterns of light across the walls, ceiling, and floor. The mentor added a challenge. "Now, defend against unseen force. Imagine pressure, intrusion, something trying to pierce your shield. Respond." Aaron's heartbeat quickened. He imagined the orb responding, forming walls of light, arcs that deflected the imagined threat. Shadows flickered at the edge of the room, simulated scouts of the Void Sovereign, testing his focus. The orb expanded, contracted, shifted like water in response to his mental commands. Each pulse of his heartbeat strengthened the energy. Every thought, intention, and controlled emotion guided the Arcana's movement. He could feel the veil flowing through him, amplifying his focus. After tense minutes, the simulated threats dissipated, leaving Aaron exhausted but exhilarated. The orb returned to its gentle pulse, hovering calmly above his palms. Aaron sank to the floor, breathing heavily, sweat slick on his forehead. He realized the depth of what he had just accomplished. He had sensed, controlled, and shaped Arcana energy. He had responded to a threat, defended and guided it with intent. He had felt the veil as alive, responsive, and aware. I can do this, he whispered, a mix of awe and determination in his voice. I just need to practice, understand, control. The mentor placed a steady hand on his shoulder. You have passed your first test. But remember, this is only the beginning. Control, clarity, focus, these will be your constant companions, or your constant enemies. As Aaron's breathing calmed, the orb pulsed gently above him, casting soft, protective light. Outside the window, the shadows stirred again, longer, darker, more deliberate. Aaron could feel them, watching, waiting, calculating. The mentor whispered, calm yet grave. They have noticed. The test was only to prepare you. Now the real attention begins. And soon, they will come. Aaron clenched his fists. His pulse synced with the orb's gentle glow, heart steadying. The veil had awakened him, the Arcana had responded, and the shadows were already moving closer. The adventure, danger, and responsibility were no longer abstract. They were immediate, unavoidable, and alive. Aaron's palms glowed with the soft pulse of the orb. He had practiced, learned control, shaped his first construct. Yet tonight, the calm was deceptive. The shadows had noticed him. From the edge of the street, a figure emerged. Humanoid, dark, shifting like smoke, almost unreal. Its eyes glowed faint red, piercing through the dim lamplight. It moved silently, deliberate, testing the boundaries of Aaron's perception. Aaron's pulse quickened, orb spinning faster above his hands. He sensed the veil reacting, alerting him. A scout had arrived. So, they are real, he whispered to himself. Not just shadows, but alive, watching. The wind carried an icy chill, raising goosebumps on Aaron's skin. Shadows around his room twisted and stretched unnaturally, responding to the intruder's presence. The orb above his palms flared, casting protective light that danced across walls and ceiling. Each pulse of his heart seemed amplified, mirrored by the orb's rhythm. The scout shifted closer, and a whisper echoed in Aaron's mind. Power, sensed, vulnerable. The voice was alien, intangible, yet direct, seeping into his consciousness. Aaron's chest tightened. Fear surged, but he forced himself to breathe, remembering the mentor's lessons. Control, harmony, perception. He extended his hands, shaping the orb into a protective barrier, a shimmering dome that encompassed him. The scout tested it, pressing against the edges of the light. The orb flared violently in response, spinning faster, arcs of energy forming protective arcs around the room. Aaron concentrated, channeling focus and intention. The scout recoiled slightly, then pressed again, probing the barrier. He visualized strength, control, and calm flowing into the construct. The barrier stabilized, shimmering with soft blue patterns, arcs of energy dancing like strands of living light. Do not fight blindly, the mentor's calm voice resonated inside his mind. Perceive, anticipate, respond. Let the Arcana guide your movements. You are the center of the flow, never the reaction. Aaron felt a sudden surge of energy, the veil connecting him to the orb, amplifying his focus. He adjusted the dome's edges, pushing back against the scout's probing presence. The air vibrated, shadows bending, wind swirling, a subtle aura of mystical force enveloping the room. The scout hissed, an otherworldly sound that echoed faintly, then vanished into the darkness outside. But Aaron could feel its lingering presence, watching, calculating. The first confrontation had ended, but the warning was clear. They were aware of him now. Aaron sank to the floor, chest heaving, sweat slicking his palms. He realized the truth. His arcana was powerful but visible, and attention came with responsibility. He had survived, yes, but the shadows were organized, intelligent, and relentless. "I can't underestimate them," he whispered. "I need to grow, learn, master this, before they strike again." The mentor crouched beside him, hand on his shoulder. "You have passed your first real test," the figure said. "But this is only the beginning. Every action leaves a trace. The scouts will report. And soon, the attention will escalate." The orb pulsed gently now, hovering above Aaron's palms. Outside, the faint rustle of shadows indicated the scout had returned to report, vanish, and re-emerge elsewhere. Aaron clenched his fists, resolve hardening. The mentor whispered, calm yet grave, "They have seen you. The veil has awakened your potential, but the world beyond is dangerous. And the next encounter will not be so subtle." Aaron's chest pulsed in sync with the orb's light, heart steadying. He knew one undeniable truth. He was no longer just learning. He was being tested by forces alive, watching and waiting. The adventure, danger, and responsibility were immediate, unstoppable, and alive. And the shadows were already moving, preparing for the next strike. The room felt different now. Not broken, not destroyed, but altered. Aaron sat against the wall, knees drawn slightly inward, the faint blue orb hovering above his palms like a quiet star refusing to fade. The confrontation had ended, but the energy it stirred still lingered in the air like static before a storm. Outside, the streetlights flickered once, then steadied. The shadows were gone, or at least, pretending to be. His chest rose and fell slowly. Every breath felt heavier than the last. Not from exhaustion alone, but from awareness. He had crossed something tonight. A boundary. A threshold. He wasn't just sensing Arcana anymore. He wasn't just practicing. He had been seen. "You feel it now, don't you?" The mentor's voice flowed gently through his mind. Aaron nodded slowly. "Yeah," he whispered. "It's different. Like something shifted." "Because it has," the mentor replied calmly. "The veil does not awaken quietly. When one marked by Arcana rises, the balance trembles." Aaron looked down at his hands. The orb pulsed gently, not violently like before, not defensive, just present, alive. The mentor stepped forward, robes of silver and indigo glimmering faintly in the dim room. "Understand this, Aaron Vale." The voice resonated deeper now. "The scout you faced was not an attack. It was curiosity." Aaron swallowed. Curiosity. Yes. A test. A measurement. They wished to see how much you understood, how much you could control. A cold realization settled in his stomach. "So next time, it won't just be curiosity." The mentor did not answer immediately. Silence said enough. Suddenly, the orb flickered. Once. Twice. Then a sharp pulse shot through Aaron's chest like lightning. He gasped, gripping the floor. What was that? The mentor's posture changed. Subtle. Alert. The signal has expanded. Signal. When you defended yourself, you didn't just repel the scout. You amplified your presence. Arcana echoes across the veil, and somewhere, something stronger felt it. The air in the room grew heavier, not dark, not yet, but charged, like reality itself was holding its breath. Without warning, Aaron's vision blurred. The room dissolved into mist. He wasn't asleep. He wasn't dreaming. He was seeing. High above a distant, fractured landscape, towers of obsidian piercing a violet storm sky, a throne of swirling darkness pulsed faintly. Upon it, a presence, not fully visible, not fully formed, but aware. Red light flickered in the distance, and somewhere deep within the storm, a whisper formed. A new pulse rises. Aaron staggered backward as the vision snapped away. He was back in his room, breathing hard. The orb trembled above his hands. That wasn't the scout, Aaron said slowly. No, the mentor replied. That was something far above it. Aaron's throat felt dry. How many levels are there? The mentor's voice lowered. Shadows serve. Scouts observe. Commanders calculate. And above them, there are architects of darkness. Aaron's pulse quickened again. And they want the veil? They want control of it. Aaron clenched his fists. The orb responded, brightening slightly. For the first time since everything began, something inside Aaron changed. Not panic, not confusion, but clarity. If they're going to come, he said quietly, eyes steady now, then I need to be ready. The mentor watched him carefully. Power alone is not readiness, the voice said. You must understand the world beyond this room. You must learn where Arcana flows strongest, where it fractures, and where it is hunted. Aaron stood slowly. So teach me. The mentor's eyes glowed brighter. I will begin. The orb floated upward between them. The walls shimmered faintly as the veil thinned for a moment. Aaron felt it clearly now. The world he thought was ordinary was layered. Hidden currents, invisible structures, places where reality was thin, and places where darkness gathered like storms. Tomorrow, the mentor whispered, you will leave this room with new sight. The city is not what it seems. Aaron's heart pounded, not with fear this time, with anticipation. Outside the window, far down the street, a single street lamp shattered. No explosion, no visible cause, just glass falling silently to the ground. Aaron felt it immediately. A deliberate message. The orb pulsed sharply. The mentor's voice turned grave. It begins. Aaron stared into the darkness beyond the glass. He understood now. The scout had tested him. But something far greater had answered. And the next move would not be subtle. It was night. Only the faint ticking of the clock echoed through the house. Each second seemed to slice through the air. Ion stood in the middle of his room, the old book in his hand, its pages now emitting a faint glow on their own. A soft, blue light. But this time the light wasn't coming directly from the book. It was coming from the wall that looked completely straight, clean, and normal. But now, a faint line was forming on it, as if a finger from the inside was touching the wall. Ion's throat went dry. He whispered slowly, "Who's there?" 2 seconds. No answer. Then, a very faint voice, as if someone had spoken from far away. Ion. His name. Very soft. Very cold. Completely unfamiliar. Ion's heart began pounding loudly. This is my imagination, he told himself. Just imagination. But the line on the wall grew sharper. It was no longer just a line. It was forming patterns. Symbols. The same strange symbols that were inside the book. The same symbols he had seen the first night. The temperature in the room began to drop slowly. Ayan's breath started turning into mist. The fan was off. The window was closed. Yet wind was moving. And in that wind, there was a smell. Old soil. Wet earth. Like the scent rising from a graveyard after rain. Gathering courage, Ayan stepped toward the wall. With every step, the floor let out a faint creaking sound, as if the house itself was warning him. Go back. But he couldn't stop. As if something was pulling him. As if an invisible string had already caught his soul. He stood directly in front of the wall. The symbols were now glowing fully. Blue light fell across his face. And then, the wall began to ripple slightly. Like water. Solid cement. Moving like liquid. Ayan's mind went numb. That's not possible. Then a shadow began emerging from inside the wall. At first just a dark blur. Then slowly it began taking a human shape. But it wasn't human. Its head was longer than normal. Its eyes were deep, hollow voids. And its body was completely blurred. As if made of smoke. Ayan wanted to step back. But his feet froze. As if the floor had grabbed him. The shadow came halfway out of the wall. And then, it spoke again. You have awakened us. The voice echoed directly inside Ayan's mind. Not through his ears. Directly in his head. I didn't do anything. Ayan stammered. The shadow moved slightly closer. The book is not yours. The book in Ayan's hand suddenly grew hotter, as if it were burning. But there was no fire, only energy, a raw, dangerous energy. The shadow extended its hand. Its hand wasn't solid, blurred, transparent. But when it pointed toward Ayan, a sharp pain exploded in his chest. As if someone had reached inside and squeezed his heart violently. He fell to his knees. The floor of the room began cracking. Small fractures. And from those cracks, the same blue light began to emerge. The entire room felt as if it were shifting into another dimension. Ayan's vision was blurring. But he saw one more thing. Behind the wall. There wasn't just darkness. There was an entire city, broken, burned, the sky red, buildings collapsed, and in the middle of it all, the same symbols floating in the air, as if someone had erased the world and redrawn it with a new design. The shadow spoke softly. The door has opened. Ayan wanted to scream, but no sound came out. His mind asked only one question. Why is all this happening? And then, suddenly, everything stopped. The room normal. The wall normal. The floor perfectly fine. Only Ayan lying on the ground. Breathing heavily. Sweating. The book still in his hand. But the cover of the book had changed. Now there was a new symbol on it. One that hadn't been there before. And beneath it, a small line was written. Phase 1 complete. Ayan's blood froze. Phase 1. So, was all this just the beginning? He slowly lifted his head. The room was completely silent. But on the window glass, from the inside, a new word was written. As if someone had traced it on fog with a finger. Soon. Ayan closed his eyes. He understood now. He was no longer just a normal boy. He had become part of a game. A game whose rules he didn't know, whose players could not be seen, and whose end might be the end of the world. And somewhere far away, very far away, in the darkness, two eyes opened. Those eyes smiled. Let the second phase begin. The silence did not feel empty anymore. It felt aware. Aaron stood in the middle of his dimly lit room, the ancient book still lying open on his desk. The symbol on its page was no longer glowing, but it wasn't dead either. It pulsed faintly, like something breathing in its sleep. Outside, the wind had completely stopped. No cars, no distant dogs barking, not even the hum of electricity. The world felt paused. Aaron swallowed. The mark on his wrist began to warm again, not painfully, but insistently, like a hand tightening around his pulse. He stepped back from the desk. The shadows in the corners of the room shifted slightly, not dramatically, just enough. Enough for doubt to die. He wasn't alone. A low vibration filled the air. It wasn't sound exactly, more like pressure. The window glass trembled faintly, and then the mirror. Across the room, it rippled, not cracked, not shattered, rippled, as if its surface had turned into liquid silver. Aaron's breath caught in his throat. His reflection did not move. He did, but the reflection stayed still, watching him, and then it smiled. Not his smile. Wider, colder, knowing. Aaron stumbled backward, knocking into his chair. The reflection raised its hand. The same wrist, the same mark, but darker. Veins of shadow spreading from it like cracks across glass. And then the reflection spoke. But its mouth did not move. The voice came from everywhere. You felt it. Aaron's heart pounded violently. Who are you? He whispered. The room temperature dropped instantly. Frost crept along the edges of the mirror. The reflection's eyes darkened. We are what watches from behind the veil. The air behind Aaron shifted. He spun around. Nothing, but the feeling, like someone standing inches from his back, breathing, observing, choosing. The reflection leaned forward, though the glass remained flat. The pulse has chosen you. Chosen. The word echoed in his skull. The mark on his wrist burned brighter. Images flashed in his mind. A massive structure rising above clouds. Floating towers connected by bridges of light. Figures training in circles of glowing runes. Energy bending like silk in their hands. And at the center, a throne of obsidian crystal. Empty. Waiting. Aaron gasped and fell to his knees. The images vanished. The mirror returned to normal. The vibration stopped. The wind outside resumed suddenly, howling against the windows. Everything was normal again. Except nothing was. He stayed on the floor for several seconds, trying to steady his breathing, trying to convince himself it was a dream. But the frost remained on the edge of the mirror, and his wrist still glowed faintly. He slowly stood, approached the mirror cautiously. His reflection matched him again. Normal, human, terrified. He reached out and touched the glass. Cold, solid, real. But as his fingers pressed against it, a faint whisper brushed against his mind. You cannot hide from the veil. Aaron jerked his hand away. His heart hammered louder than ever. This wasn't imagination. This wasn't stress. This was contact. Something had reached through. Something had looked at him. The book on his desk suddenly flipped a page by itself. The sound made him jump. Slowly, very slowly, he turned his head. The page now showed something new. A map. Not of any country he recognized, but of a realm. Mountains labeled in strange script. A city at the center, encircled by a glowing ring. And at the very edge, a region shaded in black. No name, just darkness. And beneath the map, 3 words written in ancient ink. The veil weakens. Aaron's blood ran cold. Weakens. What did that mean? And why him? The mark pulsed once more. Stronger this time. And then, a knock. 3 slow knocks. From his bedroom door. Aaron froze. His parents were asleep downstairs. He knew their footsteps. Their knock. This wasn't it. The knock came again. 3 times. Slow. Measured. Deliberate. His throat tightened. He forced himself to speak. Who's there? Silence. Then, a faint shadow slid under the door. Not light. Not darkness. Something thicker. Moving. Aaron stepped back. His mind screamed to run, but his legs felt rooted. The door handle turned slightly. Very slowly. Click. It stopped. The shadow under the door vanished. The air felt heavy again. Oppressive. And then, complete silence. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Finally, gathering every ounce of courage, Aaron walked toward the door. His hand trembled as he gripped the handle. He pulled it open. The hallway was empty, dark, still. No footsteps, no movement, just normal night. But on the floor, right outside his door, was a symbol drawn in black ash. The same symbol from the book. The same one on his wrist. Except this one was cracked down the middle, as if broken. Aaron stared at it in horror. And then, the ash began to move, crawling, reforming, and reshaping into a new mark. One he had never seen before. A circle, pierced by a vertical line, and around it, tiny jagged edges, like teeth. A voice whispered behind him, very close, so close he felt the breath on his neck. They have found you. Aaron spun around, but the room was empty. The book slammed shut. The light bulb above him burst. Darkness swallowed everything, and in that darkness, 2 faint crimson eyes opened, watching, waiting, and slowly, stepping forward. The darkness in Aaron's room didn't feel empty anymore. It felt alive. Every shadow stretched, twisted, as if listening, moving, waiting. Aaron's hands trembled as he held the ancient book close to his chest. The symbol on the cover glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Each pulse sent shivers down his spine. From the corner of the room, he saw it first, a vague silhouette, tall, thin, human-like, yet not human. Its form shimmered, flickered, as if trying to hide and reveal itself at the same time. Aaron's pulse raced. Not again, not now, he whispered to himself. The figure stepped forward. A whispering wind followed it, carrying faint, otherworldly murmurs. And then, in a voice both everywhere and nowhere, it spoke. The pulse, it cannot hide. It calls us. It draws us near. Aaron's stomach dropped. It knew. It had sensed the arcana from his first practice. the confrontation, the signal. He raised the book instinctively, trying to summon a protective shield. The air around him shimmered. The symbol on his wrist flared violently. Arcana responded, raw, uncontrolled, and alive. The shadow paused. It tilted its head, almost curious. You think yourself ready, child? The voice was sharp, like broken glass. We shall see. Suddenly, the shadow lunged, not physically, but like a wave of force. The air around Aaron twisted violently. Objects on the floor levitated briefly, spinning. Dust, papers, even his chair rose like they were caught in a storm. Aaron struggled to stabilize the energy. He extended his hands. The symbol on the book burst into light. A dome of Arcana energy sprang up around him, protective, shimmering, alive. The shadow slammed against it. Energy collided with energy. A deep vibration shook the room. The dome wavered but held. Aaron's breathing was heavy. His mind raced. He could feel the veil reacting. The protective shield was not his alone. It was alive, aware, resisting the intrusion. Good, the voice whispered, almost approving. Potential, but fragile. We will return. The shadow recoiled, retreating into the corners of the room. And then, with a motion too fast to follow, it vanished. Not just disappeared, it melded into the darkness, leaving a faint trail of black mist. The room fell silent. The wind stopped. The pulsing of the book slowed. Aaron sank to the floor, trembling. He realized something terrifying. This was not a random encounter. The faction behind the shadows was organized. They were watching. They were intentional. And they were coming back. Aaron pressed his palms to the floor, trying to absorb the shock. The weight of what he had just faced settled on him like a physical force. He wasn't just a student anymore. He wasn't just learning Arcana. He was being tested, measured, hunted. Why me? He whispered into the empty room. The whisper came again, this time from inside his mind. Because you are the signal, the one who will awaken the veil. The words resonated like thunder inside him. Aaron looked at the book. It was no longer just a book. It was a doorway, a beacon, a challenge. Outside, faint footsteps echoed from the hall. Not human, not entirely. They were calculated, intentional, watching. Aaron clenched his fists. The symbol on his wrist pulsed brighter. Arcana had responded. The veil had noticed. And somewhere, beyond his room, beyond his understanding, the faction behind the shadows had taken note. Phase 2 approaches, a whisper echoed in his mind. Aaron swallowed. He knew one thing for certain. He had survived the first real threat. But this was only the beginning. The game had started. And now, the rules were no longer his own. Aaron opened his eyes slowly. The room was dark, yet nothing felt ordinary anymore. Shadows lingered in corners, but they no longer seemed threatening. They were just aware. Aware of him. He sat up, gripping the book tightly against his chest. The symbol on his wrist pulsed faintly, syncing with his heartbeat. Every pulse reminded him, the first threat wasn't just a test. It was a message. He exhaled slowly. The air still carried a faint chill, and yet, a strange energy flowed through the room. The orb he had summoned yesterday remained above the book, hovering silently. No flash of light. No flare. Just calm potential waiting to be shaped. You survived, the mentor's voice whispered in his mind. But survival is only the first step. Aaron nodded. His chest heaved. His mind replayed every shadow, every whisper, every pulse from the previous night. Fear, confusion, and now, determination. He reached out to the orb. The moment his fingers brushed its surface, it reacted. A gentle warmth spread through his palms. The light pulsed softly, as if acknowledging him. Not defensive, not hostile, alive. The veil recognizes you, the mentor continued. And with recognition comes responsibility. Every action you take now leaves an imprint, an echo across the world. Aaron shivered. He remembered the whispers from the mirror, the symbols in ash, the red eyes in the darkness. He realized that the city, the world beyond his room, had changed, and he had changed with it. He closed his eyes and focused. The pulse in his wrist grew stronger. He could feel the veil moving around him, tiny streams of energy, subtle currents, invisible yet present. Every breath he took was amplified by the arcana flowing within him. A pattern, a rhythm, a connection. It is time to understand what you can do, the mentor said. We begin with perception. Feel the flow of the veil, not just around you, but within you. Aaron extended his hands slowly. The orb floated upward, spinning gently. He visualized energy flowing outward, brushing against the walls, the ceiling, the floor. He felt the subtle bends and twists of the arcana around him. The air vibrated faintly, responding to his intention. The orb pulsed brighter. Good, the mentor said. You are learning, but there is more. The world beyond these walls is alive with forces you cannot yet see. Shadows, currents, fractures, they all sense your pulse now. Aaron's pulse quickened. I understand, he whispered. I can feel them. But what do I do next? Observe. Anticipate. React. The first real test begins when you step outside. The city is not what it seems. He swallowed. The weight of responsibility settled on him like a tangible force. He realized that his room, once a sanctuary, was only the beginning. The streets, the alleys, the buildings he had walked past his entire life, they were layered, intertwined with hidden flows of energy, invisible currents that carried the presence of shadows, of watchers, of those who waited. Aaron stood and moved toward the window. The city below appeared normal. Streetlights flickered, cars moved in their usual rhythm, distant sounds of life continued. Yet he could feel the undercurrent of the veil, the subtle pulse of arcana hidden in walls, in streets, in corners of alleys. The first phase outside is awareness, the mentor whispered. Do not let what is unseen overwhelm you. Learn to see, to feel, to predict, and trust your instinct. Aaron nodded. He could feel it, the first true challenge looming beyond his familiar streets. The scout from last night had been only a test. But now, the world itself was observing him. Every shadow, every flicker of light, every whisper of wind carried a question. Will you rise, or will you falter? The orb above the book brightened once more, then hovered in a gentle glow. Aaron reached out and touched it. The pulse surged through him, steady, controlled, alive. It was a promise, and a warning. Step outside soon, the mentor said. The veil will show you its first true fracture, and it will not wait for you to be ready. Aaron took a deep breath. He straightened his shoulders. The fear was still there, sharp, biting, but now it was joined by resolve. He was no longer just a boy with a book. He was a pulse in the veil, and the veil had begun to respond. Outside, somewhere in the city, shadows shifted. The first thread of the larger web had been pulled, and it was moving toward him. Aaron exhaled. The adventure, the real challenge, was about to begin. Aaron stepped outside, the night air cool against his skin. Nothing about the city seemed familiar anymore. Or maybe everything was familiar, but layered beneath a reality he had never noticed. The streets appeared normal at first glance. Cars moved along their lanes. Street lights flickered. People hurried along sidewalks, unaware of the currents of energy that threaded invisibly around them. But Aaron could feel it. The veil had opened slightly to him. Every lamp post, every crack in the pavement, every shadow at the corner of an alley carried a subtle pulse of arcana. Aaron paused and focused. He extended his hand. The air responded. A faint shimmer traced the lines of power through the streets, like invisible rivers flowing beneath the concrete. Some currents were weak, flickering, unstable. Some were strong, steady, glowing faintly in the darkness. And some, twisted, corrupted, tainted. Aaron's pulse quickened. He realized that the city itself was alive, not in the sense of lights and traffic, but in energy, hidden structures, veins of power flowing unseen. "Observe, Aaron," the mentor whispered in his mind. "Arcana exists everywhere. Strong currents attract attention. Weak currents hide danger. Learn the patterns." Aaron nodded, absorbing every detail. He noticed a flicker of light near an abandoned alley. Nothing human. Nothing solid. Just a ripple in the energy flow. He walked closer. The ground beneath him hummed faintly. The flicker intensified. Symbols appeared briefly, etched into the shadows of the alley walls, then vanished like smoke. "Curiosity will get you killed," the mentor warned gently. "Or it will teach you. Choose wisely." Aaron took a deep breath. He extended his focus further. The buildings themselves seemed to pulse. Windows reflected not just his image, but streams of energy flowing like rivers across walls. Each building held a story, nodes of arcana gathering, hidden fractures, spots where shadows could hide. He felt the pulse in his wrist respond. The mark glowed faintly, syncing with the strongest currents around him. It was almost like a compass, pointing toward the densest arcana nodes. And then he saw them. Small movements, shadows at the edge of perception. Not fully formed. Not yet threatening. But watching. "They are scouts," the mentor whispered. "Assessing. Learning. Do not engage unless necessary." Aaron's heart raced. Every instinct told him to run. Every rational thought told him to observe. He chose to observe. He walked slowly, following the flow of energy. He noted weak fractures, places where reality seemed thin. A faint wind drifted from one alley, carrying whispers of old spells, residual energy left from long-forgotten rituals. The city at night was alive in a way no one else could perceive. Every corner, every shadow, every glimmer of light carried meaning. Some were signals, messages left by those who had walked these streets before. Some were warnings, residual traces of attacks, battles, or failed attempts to manipulate arcana. Aaron paused at the edge of a small park. The fountain at its center seemed ordinary. But when he focused, the water shimmered faintly with blue energy, arcs of light dancing along the surface. "Arcana flows in everything," the mentor said. "Even what appears mundane can hold power. Learn to read it." Aaron knelt, dipping a hand into the shimmering water. Energy licked his fingers, gentle, almost playful. It responded to his will. Not fully controlled, but present. Suddenly, a ripple traveled outward from the fountain. He looked up. a flicker in the streetlights across the park. Then, shadows moved, faster than before, darting along the edges of buildings. Aaron's pulse quickened. "They are testing your awareness," the mentor's voice said. "Do not panic. Watch. Learn." He focused on the shadows, tracked their subtle movements, saw where they converged, where they split, how they avoided light, and how they interacted with the Arcana currents. One shadow paused briefly at a lamppost. Its form rippled like water over stone. Then it vanished entirely. Aaron exhaled slowly. He realized the veil was alive not just in him, but all around. And the city itself was a complex web, nodes of power, currents of energy, and watchers he could barely perceive. The mentor spoke again. "Tonight you observe. Tomorrow you interact. Every step you take will leave a trace. Be mindful." Aaron nodded. He felt both exhilarated and terrified. The city was no longer just a familiar place. It was a living map of energy, fractures, and hidden eyes. A gentle pulse from his wrist reminded him the scouts were out there, watching, learning, waiting. And somewhere in the distance, deep in the heart of the city, the first threads of a greater threat began to stir. Aaron stepped into the open street under the night sky. The city seemed ordinary, but only to anyone who didn't see through the veil. "Observe carefully," the mentor's voice echoed in his mind. "Your Arcana responds to your focus. You will learn to sense, anticipate, and protect." Aaron's pulse quickened. He extended his hands, letting the faint glow from his wrist spread outward. The air responded. A subtle shimmer traced the energy lines through the pavement, walls, and nearby streetlights. "Good," the mentor whispered. "Now, reach deeper. Feel the currents flowing around the city, and through yourself." Aaron closed his eyes. At first, he felt only the city's ambient pulse, traffic, footsteps, hum of electricity. Then, slowly, faint currents began to emerge. Streams of soft blue energy weaving along the sidewalks. Tiny sparks hiding in corners, marks of residual arcana. Weak fractures in alleys, barely noticeable. "Focus on them," the mentor said. "Do not let fear guide you. Let awareness guide you." Aaron inhaled deeply, tuning into every whisper of power around him. A faint ripple caught his attention, shadow-like movement in the alley across the street. He froze. "See it?" the mentor asked. "That is a scout. It is testing your perception. Do not react hastily." Aaron observed the shadow. It flickered and shifted, trying to remain unseen. But by sensing the currents of Arcana it disturbed, he could track its movement. It was faint, ephemeral, almost like smoke, but it left echoes behind. "Now, practice your response," the mentor instructed. "Raise your shield." Aaron extended both hands. The symbol on his wrist flared. A dome of faint blue light enveloped him, shimmering like a protective bubble. The shadow approached. The shield held. The scout recoiled, testing the barrier, before fading into the darkness. "Excellent," the mentor said. "You are learning. Defensive energy responds to intent, not fear." Aaron's heart pounded. The city around him was alive, pulsing with hidden currents. Every step he took, every breath he drew, allowed him to sense more. Even distant street lamps seemed to hum in response to his focus. "Now try movement," the mentor instructed. "Arcana flows. You can manipulate small objects. Your intention directs the current." Aaron extended his fingers toward a nearby trash can. The container lifted slightly, wobbling in the air, guided by his will. He focused harder. It rotated slowly. then set down gently. The exercise, simple yet profound, revealed that even minor energy manipulations required precision. Good, the mentor said. Every action leaves a trace. Learn control before power. Aaron nodded, sweat forming on his brow. He felt both exhilarated and exhausted. The city no longer seemed ordinary. Every shadow, every crack, every faint flicker of light carried meaning. Observe patterns, the mentor added. Scouts, anomalies, fractures. Your ability to read them determines your survival. Aaron turned his focus to the alley where the first scout had appeared. A faint blue shimmer outlined the entrance. Subtle energy currents moved, forming shapes he could now recognize. Footsteps? No. Residual arcana. Yes. He realized the scouts left traces, like fingerprints of energy in the veil. Well done, the mentor said. Tonight you learn perception and defense. Tomorrow, you will learn to anticipate attacks and manipulate energy for offense. The city itself is your classroom. Aaron exhaled, finally lowering his hands. The protective glow faded. The alley returned to shadow. The night continued. But Aaron knew the scouts were still out there, observing, waiting, testing him. Step carefully, the mentor whispered. The shadows learn from every mistake. Aaron's gaze swept over the city. Every lamppost, alleyway, and street corner seemed to pulse with unseen currents. Every shadow could be a watcher. Every movement a clue. He tightened his grip on the book. The Arcana pulsed in response. And somewhere in the city, faint and hidden, eyes watched. Aaron smiled faintly, determination rising. He was ready to learn, ready to survive. And slowly, the fear that had gripped him in Chapter 1 began to transform into resolve. Aaron walked carefully down the narrow alley. His senses were alert, every shadow potentially a scout. Every flicker of light could hide a threat. Stay calm, the mentor whispered in his mind. Perception guides survival. Panic guides failure. He paused. The faint shimmer of Arcana in the street revealed movement. At first, it was almost invisible, a ripple along the corner, a distortion of shadow. Then it solidified. A small figure emerged from the darkness. Not fully human. Not fully shadow. Its form flickered and shifted, translucent, like smoke shaped into a humanoid figure. Aaron's pulse quickened. The scout had come to test him. Observe its approach, the mentor instructed. Do not attack first. Let it reveal itself. The scout moved with fluid precision. It didn't run. It didn't walk. It glided silently, tracing the currents of Arcana that Aaron now instinctively sensed. Aaron extended his hands. The mark on his wrist glowed brighter. He raised a dome of protective energy, shimmering, almost invisible, but alive. The scout paused, as if noting the barrier. Then it struck, not with force, but with a pressure wave. The air itself thickened, twisting around the dome. Aaron felt the shock ripple through his hands, through his arms, into his core. Stabilize, the mentor instructed. Arcana responds to intention, not fear. Anchor yourself. Aaron focused, tightening his mind and will. The dome pulsed in response, pushing back against the scout's pressure. Shadows along the alley walls warped as the scout tested the strength of his barrier. Suddenly, the scout lunged closer. Its form dissolved into multiple fragments, tiny shadowy shards spinning toward him. Aaron extended his hands further, concentrating on control. The shards collided with the dome and dispersed harmlessly. He realized something vital. The scout was not attacking to harm. It was observing, testing, learning. Exactly, the mentor whispered. Notice its pattern. Every movement is deliberate. Every shift in shadow has purpose. Aaron's eyes tracked the fragments. He noticed the subtle flow. The shards moved along currents of residual arcana. They avoided certain cracks in the pavement. They hovered near faint blue currents he could barely see. The scout pulled back suddenly, then vanished into the shadows at the alley's entrance. Aaron exhaled, lowering his hands. His dome faded. The alley returned to normal night darkness. But the traces remained, small ripples in the arcana currents, residual energy marks, faint distortion of shadow. Good, the mentor said. You have survived your first test in the field. Remember, these scouts are learning from you, as you are learning from them. Aaron nodded, adrenaline still rushing. He realized the city was alive in a way he had never imagined. Every alley, every corner, every flicker of light could hide observation. Every movement left a trace. Every trace could attract attention. We move next, the mentor said. You must learn to interact with the environment, to anticipate threats before they fully manifest. The scouts are only the beginning. The night was quiet again, but Aaron's senses were heightened. Every sound, every shift in shadow, every pulse of the veil screamed with meaning. A distant street lamp flickered. The wind carried a faint whisper of energy. Somewhere, beyond sight, the shadow faction was watching. Aaron clenched his fists. He wasn't just a boy anymore. He was a pulse in the veil. And now he had faced his first real scout. Aaron walked slowly through the alley, every sense alert. The scout had disappeared, but the city no longer felt safe. Every shadow, every corner could conceal an observer. Every faint pulse of arcana told a story. He stopped near a cracked brick wall. The mentor's voice echoed in his mind. Look closely. The veil is layered. Fractures are everywhere. Not all are visible, but all are dangerous. Aaron focused on the wall. At first, it appeared ordinary. Then, faint lines of energy shimmered beneath the surface, like tiny rivers of light trapped under stone. He reached out instinctively. A soft touch, a pulse of his own arcana flowing into the wall. The moment his fingers grazed the bricks, the energy reacted. The fracture widened. Light tore through the cracks. A hum filled the alley, vibrating through his bones. Careful, the mentor warned. Every node has a memory. Every fracture holds power. You do not control it yet. The wall pulsed again. A weak arc of blue energy shot toward the street. The wind twisted unnaturally, carrying tiny shards of residual arcana. A nearby lamppost flickered violently. The pavement quivered. Aaron stepped back, heart racing. He realized the fracture had not just revealed energy, it had responded to him. It was alive, reacting to his presence, his intent, his will. This is a hidden node, the mentor explained. It is weak now, but unstable. Fractures like this are fragile thresholds. They can reveal, they can destroy, or they can attract attention. Aaron's pulse flared. He felt the residual energy, like a heartbeat under the concrete. The fracture glowed brighter, as if recognizing his arcana. Suddenly, a ripple moved along the alley. The scout from before, or something like it, emerged. It approached the fracture, its form flickering with curiosity. It didn't attack. It didn't flee. It simply observed. Exactly, the mentor said. The shadows are drawn to instability. They seek fractures, currents, nodes. You have just lit a beacon. Aaron's stomach dropped. He had not intended this. But the fracture responded to his presence, his energy. He had drawn attention. He extended his hands, attempting control. A small barrier formed around the fracture, stabilizing it slightly. The scout hesitated, then disappeared again, vanishing into the shadow currents. Aaron exhaled sharply. The lamppost returned to normal. The wall settled. The energy pulsed faintly, alive but contained. "Learn from this," the mentor said. "Power without control is dangerous. Fractures reveal more than just energy. They reveal presence. You have made your position known." Aaron pressed his palms together, grounding himself. The city felt heavier now, alive with unseen currents, hidden watchers, and unstable nodes. The scout was gone, but he knew others had seen. And somewhere, in the folds of shadow, higher forces were beginning to take note. "Each fracture is a lesson," the mentor whispered. "You learn, you adapt, you survive. But the faction that watches will not wait for you to be ready." Aaron's pulse flared one last time. The hidden node shimmered faintly, then stabilized. He straightened his shoulders. He was no longer just observing the city. He was interacting with it. And every action, every arcana touch, every node he revealed carried consequence. The alley returned to quiet. But the feeling lingered. Somewhere in the shadows, eyes were tracking him. And the fracture he had awakened was only the first of many. Aaron moved cautiously through the quiet alleyways. The hidden node he had activated earlier pulsed faintly in the distance, a subtle, lingering glow in the shadows. He sensed the aftermath of his interaction, residual energy ripples, almost like footprints of power. "You've left a mark," the mentor whispered. "Marks like this do not go unnoticed." Aaron paused, feeling the pulse in his wrist intensify. It was not pain. Not exactly fear. It was recognition. Something, or someone, was aware of him now. From the edges of his vision, faint movements shifted. Not fully visible, not entirely corporeal. The shadows of the city itself seemed to ripple, bending around shapes just beyond clarity. Eyes. Observers. Scouts. "They are the faction," the mentor explained. "You've drawn their attention. They watch, they learn, they adapt. But they will not act immediately. Not yet." Aaron swallowed hard. The alley felt narrower, tighter, almost alive with anticipation. Every ambient sound, the distant hum of cars, the flicker of neon, the rustling of leaves, was amplified, carrying hidden meaning. Then he saw it, a faint shimmer along the rooftops, a trace of energy unlike anything in the city currents. It pulsed and twisted subtly, almost playful in its concealment. The presence was faint, but unmistakable. The faction was watching. "Do you feel it?" the mentor asked. "Not a scout. Something higher. A signal, a probe. They know you exist now." Aaron focused. The pulse of the hidden node, the lingering arcana from the scout, even the faint energy signature of himself, it all converged into a singular awareness. Somewhere far above, hidden in the city's fabric, something responded. A gentle ripple ran down his spine. A chill, but not entirely unpleasant. It was like being observed by a predator that understood the game before it began. "Do not engage directly," the mentor warned. "They are testing, not attacking. Yet, every misstep can reveal more than you intend." Aaron nodded slowly. He adjusted his stance, hands subtly tracing defensive sigils in the air. Even invisible, the veil responded. The city seemed to hold its breath. Every shadow was alive with subtle movement. Aaron felt a tug at the edge of perception, like a faint vibration in the bones, a whisper in the wind, The faction's presence was deliberate. They were learning, adapting, observing patterns, assessing threats. They know you've touched the fractures, the mentor said. The hidden nodes, the arcane currents, even the scouts, they all feed information upward. They are aware now. Aaron exhaled. He realized the scale of what he was facing. This was no random urban magic anomaly. This was an organized intelligence, watching, calculating, waiting for the right moment to strike. A sudden gust of wind swirled through the alley, carrying with it a faint, bitter scent, a trace of shadow residue left behind by a scout. Aaron's pulse quickened. The mark on his wrist glowed faintly, almost warning him. He sensed the faction's awareness growing stronger, stretching across the city like invisible threads. Survival now depends on observation, the mentor continued. You must learn to move unseen, to act without leaving traces, and to read the currents as they read you. Aaron adjusted his grip on the book. He could feel every pulse of Arcana around him, weak fractures, strong nodes, hidden currents, and with each, the awareness of the faction loomed larger. The city continued its nightly rhythm, unaware of the invisible tension threading through its streets. But Aaron knew. He had glimpsed the faint silhouette of something greater, watching from the shadows. Something patient, calculating. And now, it had marked him as a point of interest. Remember this, the mentor whispered. They are not here to kill yet, but they are here to learn. And knowledge is the most dangerous weapon they possess. Aaron exhaled slowly, eyes scanning the rooftops and alleyways. Every shadow was a possibility, every flicker of light a clue. And somewhere, in the dark heart of the city, the faction had begun to orchestrate its next move. The pulse in his wrist flared faintly, syncing with the hidden currents of the city. He was ready to observe, and he was ready to survive. Aaron moved cautiously through the dimly lit alley. Every shadow seemed alive. Every whisper of wind carried hidden meaning. Then he heard it, a soft rustle, deliberate and careful. Not the city, not the wind. Footsteps. Human footsteps. Stay calm, the mentor whispered. Not every presence is a threat. Some are potential allies. A figure emerged from the darkness. A young woman, her movements fluid and confident. Her eyes flickered faintly, as if scanning the invisible currents of the veil. Aaron noticed the subtle energy signature around her. Arcana aware, Arcana trained. Who are you? Aaron asked cautiously. The stranger tilted her head, a faint smirk playing on her lips. Someone who knows the city's secrets, she replied softly. And maybe, someone who can help you survive. Aaron felt a pulse of instinct. The veil responded to her presence differently than it did to him. Stronger, more controlled, deliberate. Arcana aware, the mentor whispered. She has training. Observe, learn, and trust cautiously. The woman extended a hand, not threatening, but confident. Name's Lyra, she said, and you are unusual. I can feel it. The fractures, the currents, you're new to this, but promising. Aaron studied her. Her energy signature was steady, controlled, skilled. I'm Aaron, he replied, tentative but curious. I've been learning, trying to understand. Lyra nodded. Good. You'll need guidance. The city's currents are alive, and the shadows, they don't forget. Shadows? Aaron asked. You've seen them too? She smiled faintly. Of course. But you've also touched a fracture tonight. Hidden nodes are lighting up your presence. You've drawn attention. Aaron swallowed. The mentor's warning echoed. Marks like this do not go unnoticed. Lyra tilted her head, observing him carefully. First rule, trust your instincts. Second rule, don't underestimate the city. Third rule, never act alone. Aaron nodded slowly. He felt a strange mix of relief and tension. An ally meant support, but also responsibility. They would have to move together, or risk exposure. Follow me, Lyra said. She led him through narrow passages, avoiding main streets, her steps confident. Every move seemed calculated, precise. She paused, pointing subtly toward faint arcana traces. Nodes, fractures, currents. See them. Learn them. They tell stories, reveal secrets, and warn of danger. Aaron extended his hands instinctively. The pulsing currents responded to him, guided by her subtle cues. He realized quickly, she wasn't just teaching. She was assessing him, gauging his awareness, patience, and instinct. You've potential, Lyra said softly. But untrained potential can be dangerous. Here, we train control, observation, and how to survive the veil, and those who seek to dominate it. Aaron felt the weight of her words. The city, the shadows, the faction watching from afar, they were all part of a complex web. And now, he wasn't alone in navigating it. As they moved deeper into the alleyways, Aaron noticed subtle hints of her skill. She manipulated faint currents of arcana to mask their presence. She noticed residual energy marks invisible to him. She moved silently, yet with purpose, leaving no trace. I'll teach you what I can, Lyra whispered. But the veil has its own rules. And the faction, they are patient hunters. Aaron nodded, determination rising. He had a guide now. Someone who understood the city, the arcana, and the stakes. And somewhere in the shadows, the faction had likely noticed their movement together. The night seemed to tighten around them, threat and opportunity intertwined. But for the first time since the fracture, Aaron felt a spark of hope. He was no longer entirely alone. And together, they could begin to prepare for what was coming. Aaron moved with Lyra through the winding alleys, each step deliberate, each glance scanning shadows. The night was alive, not with people, but with currents of energy that threaded invisibly through the city. Every flicker of lamplight, every rustle of leaves, every crack in the pavement carried hidden messages. Feel it, Lyra whispered, her voice almost lost in the hum of the city. That ripple there, near the fountain? That's a weak fracture. It's reacting to something you did earlier. Aaron froze, extending his hands. He could sense a faint pulse rising from the fountain's base, a subtle distortion in the arcana currents. Residual energy from the fracture he had triggered earlier seemed to awaken neighboring nodes, creating minor fluctuations in the veil. Minor urban anomalies like this are common, Lyra continued, but most go unnoticed. You, however, left a signature. They're like echoes in the veins of the city. Aaron exhaled slowly, absorbing the weight of her words. Every movement, every interaction with Arcana, left a trace. And the city, or more accurately, the veil threading through it, responded. He stepped closer to the fountain. The water shimmered faintly, arcs of light dancing across the surface. He reached out, letting the pulse from his wrist flow into the ripple. The currents responded, not violently, not aggressively, but like a cautious creature aware of his presence. Suddenly, the fountain's reflection fractured. The arcana currents danced, intertwining with his pulse, creating patterns of light that twisted unnaturally. The air thickened with subtle energy vibrations, almost palpable. A soft hum reverberated through the alley, vibrating through Aaron's chest. "This is what I mean by anomalies," Lyra said. "The city reacts to energy imbalances, to new pulses. Even small activations can ripple far beyond your immediate perception." Aaron focused, tracing the currents. He noticed the faint outlines of other nodes nearby, weak, hidden fractures that had not yet responded openly. It was as if the city itself was testing him, calibrating his arcana against its flow. "You must learn control," Lyra continued, moving silently around the fountain. "Energy responds to your will, but also resists. If you push too hard, it pushes back. If you hesitate, it dissipates. Balance is everything." Aaron extended his hands again. He guided the currents, trying to harmonize his pulse with the fountains. The water shimmered brighter. Light arcs danced along the surface, flowing outward in gentle ripples, tracing invisible pathways through the alley. He could feel the flow adjusting, responding, not just to him, but to Lyra's subtle manipulations nearby. "Excellent," the mentor whispered in his mind. "You are learning to interact with the environment. Each node, each fracture is a lesson in patience, control, and perception." Aaron turned to look at Lyra. She was calm, precise, her eyes scanning for any residual anomalies. Her presence was reassuring, but also a silent reminder. He was still new, still inexperienced. Suddenly, the water in the fountain pulsed violently. A small ripple surged upward, arcs of faint blue energy stretching into the air. Aaron instinctively raised his hands, stabilizing the currents with his pulse. The water obeyed, settling into a gentle shimmer, but the disturbance left subtle traces of arcana along the alley. "Good reaction," Lyra said. "But note this, the city doesn't forgive mistakes easily. Even minor disruptions attract attention. You are learning, but the faction is watching." Aaron felt a chill. The mentor's voice echoed, "They learn from every ripple you create. Every anomaly leaves a footprint." He realized that even small interactions with the veil had consequences. He studied the fountain's shimmering currents. Patterns formed, twisting, looping, fracturing, traces of both his own pulse and residual echoes of previous scouts and anomalies. He reached out again, letting his arcana flow gently, this time observing, not forcing. The currents danced around him, acknowledging him, testing him, responding. "Remember," Lyra said softly, "control is perception. Force without understanding is dangerous. Patience lets you see patterns others cannot." Aaron exhaled. He felt the city shift subtly around him, arcana currents adjusting, shadows moving, distant pulses aligning. Even the lamplight seemed to flicker in acknowledgement of the hidden flows. "One more lesson tonight," Lyra whispered, nodding toward a faint shimmer along the adjacent alley wall. "Always anticipate. The veil reacts, yes, but you must predict its movement and theirs." Aaron's pulse flared slightly. He understood now. Minor anomalies were not just tests. They were warnings, signals, opportunities to learn control before more dangerous threats emerged. The city returned to near-normal rhythm, but faint currents shimmered in the alleyways, as if whispering secrets only Aaron could hear. Shadows lingered at the edges of perception, watching, learning. The hidden scout from before might return. Or perhaps another, more advanced watcher had already taken its place. "We move on," Lyra said, breaking the tense silence. "Tomorrow, we test your ability to anticipate, to act, and to manipulate arcana under pressure. Tonight, you have learned that the city is alive, and you are part of it now." Aaron nodded, determination rising. He had survived the minor anomaly. He had interacted with the veil, and he had begun to understand that every pulse, every fracture, every ripple mattered. He followed Lyra down the alley, every step measured, every glance alert. The shadows watched. The currents whispered. And somewhere, in the distant folds of the city, the faction had noticed the subtle disturbance he had caused. Aaron smiled faintly, adrenaline mixing with focus. This was only the beginning. Aaron followed Lyra into a slightly wider alley, the faint glow of Arcana currents rippling through the shadows. The city hummed around them, but every vibration carried hidden meaning. "Tonight," Lyra whispered, "we test anticipation. Not reaction, but prediction. Can you sense before something happens? Can you move before the currents demand it?" Aaron nodded, eyes scanning the alley. The residual shimmer of the previous minor anomaly pulsed faintly from the fountain they had passed. Even distant energy traces from the scout activity lingered like invisible threads. "Good," the mentor said in his mind. "Observation alone is insufficient. You must predict. You must act preemptively. The faction learns fast. So must you." Lyra stopped and raised her hands subtly. A faint pulse radiated outward, a controlled Arcana surge, gentle but deliberate. "Watch," she instructed. Aaron focused. The currents of energy twisted subtly in response to her movements. He noticed faint distortions in the shadows, slight bends, shifts, something almost imperceptible. "Predict the next movement," Lyra said softly. "Not with instinct alone. Read the flow." Aaron extended his hands. He felt the currents respond, almost like water adjusting to the presence of an object. The shadows shifted along the flow lines. A subtle node in the alley pulsed faintly, testing him. "Now," Lyra whispered. A small surge of Arcana energy shot from a fracture in the wall, a controlled test she had initiated. Aaron reacted instinctively, but before his hands moved, he had already sensed the shift in the currents. His pulse flared, channeling energy from the mark on his wrist. A shield of faint blue light appeared, stabilizing the surge. The Arcana flowed around him, harmonizing with his motion. "Good," the mentor said. "You sensed before the action fully manifested. That is anticipation." Lyra nodded, impressed. "Not bad for your first coordinated exercise. But it's not enough to react correctly. You must predict multiple variables at once: currents, shadows, fractures, and even your own influence." Aaron exhaled, focusing harder. He noticed subtle patterns. Currents of Arcana converging from hidden nodes. Shadows shifting along predictable flows. A slight energy spikes that heralded movement of unseen scouts. Lyra initiated another test. She released a controlled pulse from a different fracture nearby. The energy ripple spread across the alley, interacting with faint currents left from the fountain anomaly. Aaron's eyes widened. He could feel multiple flows at once, overlapping, interacting, shifting. He moved his hands, guiding the currents, stabilizing nodes, predicting the paths of each ripple. "Excellent," the mentor said. "You are learning to see the unseen. Anticipation is not reflex, it is perception multiplied by prediction." The exercise intensified. Two faint shadow scouts appeared, responding to Lyra's pulses. They darted between alleys, testing his ability to sense multiple threats at once. Aaron's pulse flared, protective energy weaving between him and the scouts, guiding flows, deflecting minor surges, and predicting movements. Lyra observed silently, occasionally adjusting her own energy to create new currents and challenges. "Remember," she whispered, "anticipation is both defensive and offensive. Predicting the flow allows you to manipulate the environment, not just react to it." Aaron began to feel the rhythm, the city itself as a teacher. Every alley, every fracture, every shadow contributed to a symphony of arcana. He could sense subtle imbalances, and with each adjustment, the currents stabilized, ripples softened, and the shadow scouts hesitated. "That's it," Lyra said softly. "You're starting to interact, not just perceive. Control and prediction are one." The test concluded. The shadow scouts vanished into the night. The alley returned to near normal, but the residual arcana shimmered faintly, a gentle reminder of the energy that flowed unseen. Aaron exhaled deeply, muscles tense but mind alert. He realized the city was alive in a complex network of currents, nodes, and hidden observers. And now, with Lyra's guidance, he could begin to anticipate its movements, to act before events fully manifested, and to defend against both seen and unseen threats. "Tonight was your first true test," Lyra whispered, resting a hand briefly on his shoulder. "The faction is watching, but now you're learning to move ahead of them, not behind." Aaron nodded, determination hardening. He felt the pulse in his wrist flare faintly, syncing with the city's hidden currents. The shadows had not disappeared, they were still there, watching, waiting. But he was no longer just reacting. He was learning to predict. Aaron stepped lightly through the narrow alleyways, his eyes scanning every shadow. The minor arcana anomaly from the fountain had long settled, but the traces lingered, not visible to the ordinary eye, but present in the currents he had been learning to sense. "These traces are important," the mentor whispered in his mind. "They tell stories. Scouts leave marks, subtle but detectable if you know where to look." Lyra moved ahead, silent as a whisper, pointing subtly toward a faint shimmer along the cracked pavement. "See that?" she said. "Residual scout traces. They don't vanish completely, they leave energy imprints, like footprints." Aaron knelt slightly, focusing his arcana perception. The faint blue trails were almost invisible, flickering as if uncertain of their presence. He traced one with his mind, following it through a narrow gap between two buildings. "Every scout leaves a signature," Lyra continued. "It's subtle. The faction trains them to erase physical presence, but energy is harder to hide. Your ability to detect them is growing." Aaron followed the faint trail, noticing nuances. A slight fluctuations in energy intensity, marking pauses and hesitations. Minor disturbances in ambient currents, indicating directional changes. Residual shimmer near hidden nodes, hinting at the scout's interaction. "Good," the mentor said. "Now predict where it goes next. Anticipate its path before it fully manifests again." Aaron extended his hands, sending a gentle pulse to interact with the residual energy. The trail responded faintly, shimmering brighter along certain nodes, indicating possible scout positions. "Yes," Lyra whispered approvingly. "Notice how your pulse interacts with the residue. Subtle influence, not force. You guide perception, you don't command it." Suddenly, the trail split. Aaron noticed two faint currents diverging, one leading into a dark alley, the other toward a quiet rooftop. "Which way do you predict it went?" Lyra asked. He studied the flows, following slight distortions in the currents. One path, he realized, aligned with residual pressure waves left by the scout's movement. He extended his arcana, gently amplifying the faint trace along that path. The ripple clarified the route. It had gone up to the rooftop. "Correct," Lyra said. "Now see the environment differently. Not just the scout, but the city itself. The currents, the nodes, the fractures, they all interact. You are learning to read the bigger picture." Aaron exhaled slowly. The city was alive in a way he had never imagined. Every shadow, Every crack, every faint pulse carried information. And he could sense it all now, not just for survival but for understanding. He looked at the rooftop path. A faint shimmer indicated where the scout had paused, briefly interacting with an unseen node. Residual energy is like memory, the mentor said. It doesn't forget. You are learning to read those memories, to anticipate presence, to gain advantage. Aaron followed Lyra through another alley. Each step, each pulse of energy, taught him subtle lessons. Energy flows like water, bending around obstacles. Or residual traces respond differently based on strength and duration of previous interactions. Observing without immediate action often reveals more than hasty engagement. Suddenly, a faint ripple moved in the distance. The scout, or perhaps another, was nearby. Aaron's pulse flared instinctively, defensive energy weaving subtly around him. Lyra smiled faintly. Good. You feel it. Now use anticipation. Observe, don't strike yet. Aaron's hands moved lightly, guiding his energy toward the residual trace. The currents shimmered in response, highlighting subtle patterns. He realized he could almost predict movement before it occurred, a ghost of what the scout intended. Exactly, the mentor whispered. The veil teaches those who learn. Every trace is a story, every ripple a warning. You are starting to read both. The alley returned to quiet. The city hummed softly around them. The scout traces faded slowly, absorbed back into the ambient Arcana currents. Aaron exhaled, heart racing. He had followed, interpreted, and influenced residual scout traces. He had learned to anticipate without seeing. And he felt a quiet satisfaction, the first real sign of control over his environment. Lyra looked at him, expression unreadable but approving. You're progressing, she said softly. The faction is aware, yes, but so are we. Observation and anticipation are our greatest weapons before engagement. Aaron nodded, determination hardening in his chest. The city was alive. The veil was teaching him. And he was beginning to understand the intricate dance of perception, anticipation, and survival. Aaron and Lyra moved silently through the alley. Residual Arcana traces from the previous scout activity still shimmered faintly under his senses, like faint echoes dancing in the dark. Stay alert, the mentor whispered. Observation will soon meet action. Anticipate, do not react blindly. A faint distortion appeared near the alley corner, a subtle ripple, almost invisible. Aaron's pulse quickened. Scout, Lyra whispered, her eyes narrowing. And it's testing you now. The figure emerged slowly from the shadows. Its form was more defined than before, semi-solid yet fluid, shadowy, with faint blue edges glowing along its contour. It wasn't hostile, yet. It was probing. Notice its approach, the mentor instructed. Not all confrontations begin with attack. Some are assessment. Aaron extended his hands instinctively, creating a subtle Arcana shield, a faint shimmer visible only to those sensitive to the currents. The scout halted, tilting its form as if analyzing his energy. Good, Lyra whispered. Hold steady. Let it test you. Anticipate, not strike. The scout moved in small arcs around him, almost like it was circling him. Its motion traced the ambient Arcana currents, highlighting weak spots and probing for response. Aaron focused on the residual traces from previous anomalies. He followed the subtle ripples. Currents near the fountain shimmered faintly. A slight distortions in shadows indicated the scout's preferred path. Energy spikes hinted at minor nodes the scout had interacted with. Predict its next move, the mentor whispered, before it completes its motion. Aaron extended his hands and guided his Arcana pulse preemptively along the alley. The scout moved directly into the projected field, its movement slowed, hesitation evident. The Arcana pulses interacted subtly, not harming it, but signaling awareness and influence. "Excellent," the mentor said. "You are beginning to influence without aggression." The scout paused briefly, then shifted slightly, testing him again. Aaron mirrored its movements subtly, stabilizing minor energy currents around him. The air itself seemed to bend with their interaction, the shadows twisting, Arcana currents shifting, faint lights dancing. Lyra observed closely, guiding quietly. "Each movement counts," she whispered. "Control the environment, anticipate behavior, and influence without revealing too much of your own strength." The scout made one more subtle lunge, like a probe, but Aaron anticipated. He adjusted the pulse of his Arcana, guiding the current to intercept gently. The scout's motion faltered, and it retreated a few steps, circling again. "You see," Lyra said softly. "You are learning the rhythm. Observation and anticipation now meet subtle action. That is the key." Aaron exhaled slowly, focusing on the rippling currents. The scout hovered in place, seemingly assessing him for the last time. Then, almost imperceptibly, it retreated into the shadows, leaving only faint residual traces. "This is your first faint direct interaction," the mentor said. "You survived. You influenced. And you learned. Every scout is a lesson. Every interaction builds your skill." Aaron straightened, eyes scanning the alley. He could feel the residual energy of the scout, the traces still pulsing faintly, whispering secrets of movement and intention. Lyra smiled faintly. "Good work. But remember, each encounter increases attention. The faction notices improvement." Aaron nodded. He felt a strange mix of exhilaration and tension. The city's currents were alive. The scouts were learning. And he was learning to move with them, not just survive, but influence the flow of energy around him. "Tonight was more than a test," Lyra said. "It was a lesson in anticipation, control, and subtle influence. Never forget that." The alley fell quiet. Residual Arcana shimmered faintly, the scout's presence now reduced to whispers in the currents. But Aaron knew this was only the beginning. Every shadow, every node, every trace was part of the larger game. And somewhere in the city, the faction was beginning to take notice. Aaron's pulse flared lightly, syncing with the currents of the veil. He was ready to learn the next challenge. Aaron and Lyra stepped into a wider alley, dimly lit by flickering neon lights. Residual Arcana traces from the previous scout encounters shimmered faintly under Aaron's perception. He could feel the pulse of energy lingering in the air, interacting subtly with his own Arcana. "Tonight," Lyra whispered, "we're going to manipulate a scout. Not react to it. Control the environment so it moves where we want it. Coordination is key." Aaron nodded, pulse quickening. He remembered the lessons from earlier parts: anticipation, subtle influence, observation over direct action. Now it was time to combine all of them. "Observe first," the mentor instructed. "Notice currents, residual traces, and the scout's behavior. Predict, guide, influence." A faint ripple appeared near a cracked wall. A scout had emerged from the shadows, semi-solid, moving deliberately. Its eyes glimmered faintly blue, assessing the currents around it. Aaron extended his hands, letting his Arcana pulse gently along the alley. The currents responded, aligning subtly with his intentions, revealing the scout's probable paths. "Good," Lyra whispered. "Now guide it. Don't force, don't attack, just influence. Think like the currents think." Aaron focused. He traced the scout's faint energy signature and projected subtle arcana ripples along the alley. The scout hesitated, then followed the altered flow, moving exactly as Aaron intended. Lyra mirrored his movements, adding her own pulses to reinforce his influence. "Coordination," she said softly. "Your flow and mine must complement, not collide. Notice where I amplify, where I dampen. Learn rhythm." The scout moved between them, testing the currents, probing for inconsistencies. Aaron adjusted instinctively, guiding the energy subtly, creating soft barriers and gentle nudges. The scout's semi-solid form shimmered in response, following the invisible path he had designed. "Excellent," the mentor said. "You are now influencing behavior without direct confrontation. That is strategy." Aaron's heart raced. He realized how powerful even minor control over arcana currents could be. Not destruction, not attack, just subtle guidance, turning the environment itself into an ally. "Predict its next shift," Lyra whispered. "Use both residual traces and current observation. Anticipate what it will try next and guide it before it moves." Aaron extended his hands again, tracing faint patterns in the air. He could feel the scout's energy responding almost before it moved, a delicate dance of cause and effect. He guided it past residual nodes, around subtle fractures, keeping it within the alley's bounds. The scout's hesitation diminished. It became a living part of the flow he and Lyra orchestrated together. "Coordination improves perception," the mentor said. "You are beginning to read multiple variables at once. This is vital. The faction watches for the slightest weakness, but you are learning to predict and control without confrontation." Aaron exhaled slowly. The alley shimmered faintly as currents aligned, residual traces glowing softly. The scout paused near the far wall, energy rippling subtly from its form. Aaron and Lyra's combined influence kept it contained, guided, observed, and ultimately manipulated. "Perfect," Lyra said, stepping closer. "Now you've experienced how control and anticipation work together. Influence without aggression, this is what separates novices from operatives." Aaron felt a surge of satisfaction. He had not only anticipated the scout's movements but guided it seamlessly. It was a small victory, but one that carried immense importance. Each success built confidence, precision, and understanding. "Remember," the mentor said, "every interaction leaves a ripple. Scouts report subtly to their faction. Coordination now saves energy, attention, and lives later." The scout finally retreated into the shadows, leaving only faint residual currents behind. Aaron and Lyra watched, observing the energy footprints it had left. "Analyze traces now," Lyra instructed. "Every movement, every hesitation tells a story. The veil speaks. Learn to read it fluently." Aaron nodded, pulse calm but alert. He traced each shimmer, each faint pulse, internalizing patterns. The exercise had been intense, demanding both physical and mental focus, but the rewards were clear. "Tonight," Lyra whispered, "you've combined observation, anticipation, and influence. You've learned coordination under pressure. The faction will notice, yes, but you're no longer passive. You're becoming a force to reckon with." Aaron felt the city around him pulse softly, acknowledging him. The residual currents shimmered faintly, whispering secrets only he could sense. He exhaled, absorbing the rhythm of the veil, ready for whatever challenge came next. Aaron moved cautiously beside Lyra, every step measured. The alleyways of the city seemed quieter than usual, but his senses tingled with a hidden awareness. Residual arcana traces from previous scouts still lingered, pulsing faintly, but now there was something else, something subtler, darker, and deliberate. "Feel that," Lyra whispered. The currents. Someone is probing. Not scouts. Something stronger. Something sent by the faction. Aaron's pulse quickened. Probe. How? He asked, extending his hands. The faint shimmer in the currents told the story. Traces moving deliberately, patterns of testing, energy spikes carefully masked. They test boundaries, Lyra said. They want to see how you react, how the veil responds to you. And they're patient. They watch for hours before acting. The alley seemed alive in response. Shadows shifted subtly, almost imperceptibly, bending around hidden fractures. Aaron traced the residual energy and noticed faint distortions, like a ghost of movement in places no one physically occupied. It's not just about seeing, the mentor said. It's about sensing intent. The probe doesn't just observe, it interacts with the currents. Feel it. Anticipate its influence. Aaron focused. He extended his hands, sending subtle pulses into the arcana around him. The currents responded faintly, brushing against the probe's hidden presence. It was testing him, pushing boundaries, probing for reaction, searching for weakness. Lyra stepped closer, guiding him silently. Influence subtly, she whispered. Do not confront directly. Adjust the currents around you. Let the probe think it sees patterns, but you remain in control. Aaron exhaled and extended his senses further, following the hidden currents like threads woven invisibly through the city. The probe's path became clearer, subtle energy pulses moving from node to node, assessing residual traces left by the scouts. He noticed the faint patterns it left behind, energy siphons, minor distortions in ambient currents, subtle delays in flow. Good, the mentor said. You are reading manipulation now, not just movement. Anticipation must evolve into control. Aaron mirrored Lyra's subtle pulses, guiding the currents around him. The hidden probe adjusted, pausing, then attempting another faint intrusion into the arcana flow. Aaron predicted it, channeling a counter-ripple that neutralized the probe's attempt without direct confrontation. Perfect, Lyra whispered. You are bending the currents without force. That is subtle influence, precisely what the faction fears most. The probe lingered, testing him further, but Aaron maintained calm, anticipation, and subtle adjustment. He realized he could almost predict its every move before it fully manifested, reading intent through residual energy and flow patterns. Suddenly, the probe recoiled slightly, as if acknowledging its failure to penetrate. Aaron felt a surge of satisfaction. This was no longer a test of raw reaction. It was strategy, anticipation, and environmental mastery, combined with coordination with Lyra. The faction is aware, Lyra said softly. They know something unusual is happening, but they do not know how capable you've become yet. Aaron studied the alley, noting the residual energy of the probe. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat, predictable, yet masked. We'll need to track these traces carefully, Lyra continued. They are learning, yes, but so are we. Aaron nodded, extending his senses further. He traced every ripple, every subtle movement, every node that had been disturbed. Each residual energy pattern told a story. Where the probe had paused, where it had tested, where it had adjusted. Excellent, the mentor said. Every faction probe you survive increases your advantage. Every subtle interaction strengthens anticipation and perception. You are learning faster than most operatives would in years. The probe finally withdrew, disappearing into faintly shifting shadows, leaving only residual currents behind. Aaron and Lyra followed its trail lightly, not to pursue, but to observe, recording its patterns in their minds. Tonight was crucial, Lyra said softly. You experienced the subtlety of the faction's eyes, and you influenced without detection. That is the edge you need. Aaron exhaled, sensing the city breathe around him. The Arcana pulses shimmered faintly, whispers of the veil acknowledging his growing skill. He had faced a hidden faction probe. He had survived. And he had subtly controlled the flow of energy, turning observation into advantage. Next time, Lyra said, the tests will escalate. But you are ready. Anticipation, influence, coordination, they are your weapons now. Aaron felt a surge of determination. The city was alive. The veil was teaching him. And somewhere, the faction was already recalculating. He walked on beside Lyra, senses alert, mind sharp. The night held more challenges, and he was ready to meet them. The night had stretched long, winding through alleys and shadowed corners. Aaron and Lyra moved with precision, every step a lesson absorbed from the past encounters, the minor anomalies, the scout manipulations, and the hidden faction probe. Tonight ends differently, the mentor whispered. You have anticipated, influenced, and survived. But the dawn brings choices, and shadows always gather before light. Aaron's pulse flared subtly, syncing with the currents of the city. Residual arcana traces of scouts and probes shimmered faintly under his perception. Every shadow, every shimmer, every ripple carried intent. And he felt it, something stronger approaching. Do you feel it? Lyra whispered, her eyes scanning the faint glow of the alley ahead. Aaron nodded. There was a concentration of energy, a distortion in the flow, deliberate and watchful. They're testing coordination now, the mentor said. Not just your individual skill. Your bond, your combined anticipation, is under observation. Suddenly, two semi-solid scouts emerged simultaneously from opposite ends of the alley. Their movements were deliberate, fluid, synchronized, clearly controlled by a higher faction command. This is your first coordinated opposition, Lyra said softly. We manipulate, we anticipate, we outmaneuver, but together. Aaron extended his hands, projecting gentle currents to guide their motion subtly, nudging shadows along paths he predicted. Lyra mirrored him, amplifying his influence and smoothing energy flows where minor instabilities arose. The scouts paused, assessing, circling, testing. But Aaron and Lyra's subtle coordination created a controlled environment. The scouts were contained, guided into precise flow patterns, unable to fully approach. Good, the mentor said. Control is not force, it is precision. You are learning rhythm, anticipation, and influence simultaneously. The scouts attempted sudden surges, testing weaknesses. Aaron anticipated each move, adjusting energy pulses preemptively. Lyra added her own influence, creating overlapping currents that guided the scouts' paths like marionettes on invisible strings. Aaron's pulse flared as he combined his perception with subtle manipulation. He felt the scouts hesitate, unsure, their movement predictable, confined by the invisible flow they could not detect. This is the veil teaching you how to bend environment to advantage, the mentor said. Minutes stretched, the alley alive with unseen energy currents, residual traces, and shifting shadows. The coordinated scouts finally recoiled, unable to breach the synchronized influence of Aaron and Lyra. They vanished into the far corners of the city, leaving behind faint pulses, traces of testing, but no real harm inflicted. Aaron exhaled, sweat on his brow, pulse steadying. We did it, he whispered, though he knew this was only a temporary reprieve. Lyra smiled faintly, pride hidden in her calm expression. You survived first true coordinated opposition. Your anticipation and influence held. But remember, every victory leaves a mark. The faction knows something is shifting. Their attention increases. Aaron studied the residual currents. Patterns remained, faintly glowing like warnings in the shadows. "We can track them," he said. "Learn from this, and prepare for what comes next." "Exactly," Lyra said. "Observation, anticipation, influence, and coordination. You have mastered each individually. Now you have begun mastering them together." The first hints of dawn painted the sky with pale light. Aaron felt the city breathe around him, the currents whispering secrets only he and Lyra could hear. The night's trials had strengthened him, tested him, and revealed his potential. "Tomorrow," the mentor said, "you will face the faction more directly. But tonight, you learned the greatest lesson. Survival is not just reaction, it is foresight, harmony, and the subtle mastery of what others cannot see." Aaron glanced at Lyra. "We're ready," he said quietly. Her eyes met his, acknowledgement passing between them without words. The city hummed around them, alive with arcana, whispers, and the anticipation of new challenges. And somewhere, in the unseen corners of the city, the faction observed the subtle but unmistakable shifts. Aaron's influence had been noted. His skill had been tested and proven. The dawn promised new trials, but the shadows could wait. The night ended, but the story was far from over. Aaron walked beside Lyra through the quiet streets, his senses alert to every ripple of the veil. The city seemed calm, yet beneath the faint neon glow, currents whispered secrets. He had grown accustomed to residual arcana from scouts and faction probes, but tonight, the flow felt different. "Do you feel it?" Lyra whispered, her eyes narrowing as she traced faint currents along the alley walls. Aaron paused, extending his senses. A subtle distortion pulsed through the arcana, unlike any he had felt before. Not scouts, not minor probes. Something larger. "This is not a routine test," the mentor whispered in his mind. "The veil senses a veiled threat approaching. Something powerful, deliberate, and unseen." Aaron focused on the anomaly. The residual energy shimmered in faint blue and violet pulses, weaving through the city's network of arcana nodes. "It's watching," he murmured. "And testing, indirectly." Lyra nodded. "The faction's hierarchy isn't simple," she said softly. "Scouts and probes are merely pawns. Someone, or something, has orchestrated a shift in the currents. This is a veiled threat. It will not reveal itself directly yet." Aaron's pulse flared. He could feel threads of influence stretching through the streets, subtle shifts in shadows, small distortions in the arcana currents, hidden nodes briefly glowing and dimming. "It's subtle," the mentor said, "but it is deliberate. And it is powerful." As they moved forward, the distortions intensified. A faint, almost imperceptible shimmer appeared near a crumbling rooftop. Residual traces of unknown arcana swirled subtly, reacting to their presence. "See that?" Lyra whispered, pointing to the faint light. "That is not a scout. That is a shadow, observing, testing you." Aaron exhaled, focusing on the currents. He traced the threads, mapping their flow and anticipating subtle changes in the environment. "So we are being watched," he said, "and tested, before we even see them." "Exactly," Lyra said. "This is the veil's lesson. Not all threats reveal themselves immediately. Some interact through currents, through subtle manipulation. Your task is to notice, to anticipate, to influence before confrontation begins." A sudden ripple passed through a nearby alley. Residual arcana reacted, faint pulses echoing across cracks in the walls. Aaron followed the flow with his hands, feeling the energy curves like invisible threads in the air. The distortion pulsed again, like a heartbeat. "They're probing," he said. testing our reactions. Correct, the mentor confirmed. And the strength of the currents they manipulate will grow. Pay attention to minor anomalies now, they predict major ones later. Lyra moved closer, her fingers brushing the edge of a faint energy trail. The veil will guide you, but the enemy will test you, she said. Notice patterns, predict intent, and respond subtly. Your training in anticipation and coordination will be critical. Aaron extended his hands further, guiding subtle pulses into the city currents. Residual distortions responded, highlighting hidden nodes and unseen pathways. He could feel multiple influences intersecting, threads of energy left behind by scouts, faction probes, and now, the veiled threat. Observation alone is insufficient, the mentor said. You must begin to interact, preemptively, subtly, without revealing your hand. Suddenly, a faint shadow crossed the rooftop above. It paused, lingering at the edge, almost observing them directly. Aaron's pulse flared, instinctively stabilizing currents around him. It's testing boundaries, Lyra said. Not attacking yet. But it will learn our limits. Aaron nodded, focusing on the residual currents. He mapped the flow in his mind, subtle shifts, faint pulses, slight distortions in shadows. We can predict its moves, he said quietly. We can prepare. Yes, Lyra said. But this is only the beginning. The veiled threat will escalate. Tonight, you learn to anticipate power hidden in shadow. Tomorrow, you will face it directly. The city pulsed softly, whispering secrets through the veil. Aaron felt the threads of energy connecting buildings, alleys, and nodes, every shadow a potential hazard, every pulse a clue. He exhaled, sensing the rhythm of the city and the veil intertwined. We're ready, he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly. The threat approaches, she said. But for now, observation, anticipation, subtle influence. This is your first true lesson in the shadows of the veil. Aaron's pulse flared again, syncing with the city's currents. He was no longer just reactive. He was aware, connected, prepared. And somewhere above, in the hidden corners of the city, the veiled threat watched, testing, calculating, waiting. The city streets stretched ahead, silent yet alive with unseen energy. Aaron's senses tingled with every subtle distortion in the Arcana currents. Residual traces from the scouts and faction probes still shimmered faintly, but something new had entered the flow. Do you sense it? Lyra whispered, her eyes scanning shadows along the alley walls. Aaron nodded, following her gaze. A faint ripple in the currents pulsed irregularly, almost like a heartbeat, but distorted, deliberate. Someone, or something, is orchestrating it, he said quietly. Exactly, the mentor whispered in his mind. Not all threats announce themselves. Some hide behind layers of currents, nodes, and shadows. The veil calls it the unseen hand. Aaron traced the ripple with his hands, feeling its deliberate, calculated energy. Unlike the scouts, which reacted instinctively, this was purposeful, measured, controlled by intelligence. It's not a scout, Lyra said, narrowing her eyes. Not a minor probe. Someone is observing us, testing our influence, studying how we manipulate the currents. The faction has a leader behind this, someone calculating. Aaron's pulse quickened. The Arcana flow shimmered faintly in response to his awareness, twisting subtly around hidden nodes. We're being watched, he whispered, and they're learning from us. Correct, the mentor said, and the moment you act without anticipation, they will use it against you. Read carefully, anticipate every subtle shift, and influence without revealing intent. Lyra stepped closer, guiding him, Notice the distortions, she said. The shadows, the residual nodes, even the currents themselves, every subtle anomaly carries intent. The villain's presence is mostly hidden, but each ripple is a message. Aaron extended his hands, sending subtle pulses through the arcana. He felt the currents respond, almost like water bending around invisible rocks. The distortions shifted, probing his awareness, testing the boundaries of his influence. Good, the mentor said. You are not just sensing, they are probing for weaknesses. Watch how they manipulate without being seen. Learn from every interaction, even subtle ones. A faint shadow moved along the rooftops above, too quick to be seen directly. Its energy signature shimmered briefly, a distorted arcana trail that vanished almost immediately. There, Aaron whispered. The first direct indication of their presence. Lyra nodded, her own senses tuned to the faintest ripple. We can't engage directly yet, she said, but we can influence the currents subtly. Let's observe and guide without revealing too much. Anticipation is our greatest weapon now. Aaron focused, projecting gentle pulses through the environment. The shadow's movement slowed slightly, influenced by the currents he subtly controlled. Residual arcana traces became clearer, showing patterns, pauses, and minor hesitations. Notice, Lyra whispered. The villain tests indirectly. Every hesitation, every subtle energy fluctuation is deliberate. They are learning you as much as you are learning them. Aaron exhaled slowly, mapping the residual currents in his mind. He could sense multiple threads, faint scout traces, minor probes, and now this deliberate arcana distortion. It's like chess, he murmured. Every move predicted, every response noted. Exactly, the mentor said. But you are not a pawn, you are learning to anticipate, to influence the board without exposing yourself. That is how the veil balances power. A sudden ripple passed across the alley, faint but sharp. Aaron traced it instinctively. It revealed the villain's indirect test, a subtle shift in residual arcana, designed to gauge his reaction to pressure. They are clever, he whispered. Testing, observing, not attacking yet. Lyra placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. And that is exactly what we expected, she said. Anticipation now is crucial. Influence subtly, read intent, and prepare for escalation. The first hints of the villain are only that, hints. But they tell a story. Aaron exhaled again, extending his awareness to every shadow, crack, and residual energy trace. The city hummed softly around them, alive with currents, whispers, and unseen eyes. We are being measured, he said quietly. And the game has only just begun. Yes, Lyra said, her eyes glimmering faintly. Tonight you learn to detect intent, anticipate manipulation, and influence without revealing your hand. The veiled threat is aware, but so are we. The alley returned to silence, residual arcana traces pulsing faintly. Aaron felt the rhythm of the city, sensing that this unseen villain was calculating, waiting for the right moment to escalate. Prepare yourself, the mentor said. The next interactions will not be subtle. They will test your coordination, control, and every lesson you have learned. Aaron's pulse flared lightly, syncing with the city's currents. He was alert, aware, and ready. The villain was hidden, but the hunt had begun. Aaron adjusted his stance, eyes scanning every shadowed corner. The subtle distortions he had sensed the night before now felt sharper, almost tangible. Residual currents from scouts and probes still lingered, but layered atop them was a stronger, deliberate pulse. The veil is restless tonight, Lyra whispered, her voice low and steady. She gestured to faint ripples along the walls, barely visible. See those fluctuations? Someone is testing us indirectly. The currents themselves are being manipulated. Aaron extended his hands, feeling the pull and push of Arcana through the environment. Each pulse, each tremor, was like a whisper, a hint of intent, a trial of skill. It's escalating, he murmured. They're pushing the currents, testing how we respond. Exactly, the mentor interjected. Minor probes gauge skill. But when the veil itself reacts under external influence, you face your first true escalation. Control the currents without exposing yourself. A faint shimmer appeared on a nearby rooftop, residual energy left behind by an unseen manipulator. There, Lyra said, pointing. Not a scout. Observe carefully, the currents are altered. Someone is testing anticipation and coordination. Aaron traced the ripple with his fingers, subtly nudging the currents to see how it responded. The disturbance shifted, as if alive, measuring his influence and adjusting accordingly. They're clever, he whispered. Learning my patterns, testing how I manipulate the environment. Good observation, Lyra said. Now respond subtly. Influence the currents, guide the flow, but don't reveal intent. Anticipation must become instinct. Aaron exhaled, projecting subtle pulses that intertwined with the distortions. The currents responded, bending around hidden nodes and residual traces. A faint shadow flickered on a distant wall, not entirely solid, not entirely absent. The test is escalating, Aaron said quietly. They are seeing how quickly I can adapt. Lyra mirrored his subtle influence, her own arcana pulses weaving in harmony. Coordination, she whispered. Our flows must complement each other. One alone cannot manipulate the escalation effectively. Aaron nodded, synchronizing with her movements. They guided the distortions together, bending currents without confrontation. The semi-solid pulses of residual arcana adjusted in response, testing both timing and precision. Observe the environment, the mentor said. Notice minor patterns, the pauses, accelerations, faint delays. Every anomaly carries a test. Respond accurately, subtly, and decisively. Suddenly, the distortions intensified along the street, forming a faint maze of energy. Aaron felt the currents twist, attempting to redirect him into a trap of residual nodes and hidden pulses. It's a test of environment manipulation, he whispered. Not just perception, control. Lyra stepped closer, projecting her own influence to stabilize the currents. Anticipate, then guide, she said. Let the veil respond to our coordination. We are not forcing, just aligning with the flow. Aaron followed instinctively, sending gentle pulses through the alley. Residual distortions shimmered, slowing, bending to his influence. The semi-solid shadow on the wall shifted again, retreating slightly, clearly reacting to their skill. Excellent, the mentor said. You are learning to turn escalation into advantage. Observe the pattern, influence without exposure, anticipate every movement. Minutes stretched as Aaron and Lyra worked in perfect synchronization. Currents twisted and turned around them, residual energy shifting like invisible threads of a web. Every subtle shift in the environment was a test, every response recorded by the unseen manipulator. They're learning how we coordinate, Lyra whispered. And we are learning the limits of the veil's flow under stress. Aaron felt a surge of satisfaction. Not only had they survived the escalation, they had controlled it. The semi-solid distortions receded, residual currents pulsing faintly as if acknowledging their skill. Remember, the mentor said, every test of escalation strengthens perception and coordination. You have begun to manipulate without exposure, a skill the faction fears most. The night deepened, shadows shifting subtly in response to unseen forces. Aaron exhaled, his pulse steady, aware of the delicate balance they had maintained. "This is just the beginning," he murmured. "The real confrontation will be far more direct." "Yes," Lyra agreed. "Tonight, we passed the first true escalation test. The veil taught patience, observation, and coordinated influence. The faction is aware, but so are we." The city pulsed softly, residual currents shimmering faintly. Somewhere, the veiled threat observed from afar, assessing, learning, waiting. Aaron and Lyra walked onward, alert, aware, and prepared. The Arcana surged gently around them, whispering secrets of the veil, and hinting at the challenges yet to come. The alleyway stretched ahead, familiar yet subtly altered. Aaron sensed it immediately. Minor distortions in residual currents, shadows twisting unnaturally, faint pulses echoing patterns that hadn't been there moments ago. "This feels different," he murmured, eyes scanning the environment. "The currents, they're deliberately misleading us." "Exactly," Lyra said softly, her eyes narrowing. "Welcome to the veil of deception. The villain manipulates not through force, but subtle misdirection. Every distortion, every shift, is a test of perception and coordination." Aaron extended his hands, feeling the currents like threads in the air. Some flowed naturally, familiar paths through the city's Arcana network. Others pulsed irregularly, almost whispering false cues, tricks designed to mislead and lure them into traps. "Do not trust what you see immediately," the mentor whispered. "The veil can be deceived, but only if you let your instincts follow appearances instead of currents." A faint shimmer appeared along a broken wall, mimicking a residual scout trace. "Another test," Aaron muttered, recognizing the pattern. "They want us to react prematurely, to reveal intent." Lyra nodded. "Subtle influence, not reaction," she said. "We guide the currents while observing the distortions. Let them think they manipulate us, but we remain in control." Aaron took a deep breath, extending his senses to every shadow, every faint residual pulse. The alley became alive with energy, currents bending around corners, residual nodes flickering faintly, shadows moving unnaturally. "It's a maze," he said quietly. "Not physical, but of Arcana. Every step, every pulse is a choice." "Good," the mentor said. "Recognition of subtle patterns is your first defense. Anticipation comes next. Influence without exposure, your most powerful skill." A sudden pulse surged through the alley, shifting the Arcana currents sharply. Aaron reacted instinctively, projecting subtle pulses that guided the distorted currents around them. Residual shadows twisted in response, revealing hidden nodes and pathways the villain had masked. "Excellent," Lyra whispered. "You are learning to navigate deception. Every distortion you correctly interpret weakens the trap and strengthens your influence." Aaron focused further, feeling a rhythm in the distortions. Some pulses were decoys, others indicators of hidden nodes. By observing the subtle timing and direction, he could map the veil's manipulation. "They're trying to mislead us," he said, tracing a faint residual pulse to a rooftop. "But the pattern repeats. Every misdirection has a rhythm." "Exactly," Lyra said, her voice calm but intense. "Observation, rhythm, anticipation. That is how you survive the veil of deception. Influence subtly, do not force. Let the currents respond naturally." Aaron sent a gentle pulse through the largest distortion, feeling it bend, twist, and guide itself into alignment. A faint shimmer of relief appeared in the residual currents, the first sign they were regaining control. "Notice how minor adjustments ripple outward," the mentor said. "Your subtle influence propagates through the veil, realigning distortions, and neutralizing deception without confrontation. The shadows above shifted again, almost as if aware of their influence. A faint energy trail shimmered along the rooftops, villain's signature, indirect but deliberate. "They observe," Aaron whispered, "testing not only my skill but our coordination." Lyra smiled faintly. "And you are passing. Coordination, subtlety, observation, these are the lessons. Deception is not defeated with force, but with understanding and measured influence." Minutes stretched, the alley alive with faint, twisting currents and shifting shadows. Aaron and Lyra moved in harmony, subtle pulses guiding distortions into neutral patterns. The villain's test continued, but each correct adjustment strengthened their control over the environment. "Every misdirection you identify and correct," the mentor said, "increases your awareness and your influence. The veil teaches, but it rewards precision." Aaron exhaled, sensing the flow of currents stabilizing around them. "We've navigated it," he said quietly. "For now, the deception is contained." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, calm but firm. "This is only a lesson," she said. "Tomorrow, the challenges will escalate further. The villain will not reveal themselves directly yet, but the traps will grow sharper." Aaron nodded, aware that subtle influence, precise anticipation, and keen observation had kept them safe tonight. The city hummed softly, shadows shifting in patterns only perceptible to those attuned to the veil. "We are ready for the escalation," he murmured. "The villain may be hidden, but we are learning faster than they anticipate." The night lingered, faint currents shimmering in harmony with their awareness. Aaron and Lyra walked on, prepared for the challenges awaiting beyond the veil of deception. The alleyway had grown darker, the city breathing around them like a living organism. Aaron felt it immediately. The currents no longer simply pulsed. They moved with purpose, coordinated, deliberate, almost like an invisible hand was guiding them. "The distortions are changing," he whispered to Lyra, eyes scanning the shifting shadows. "This is organized." "Yes," Lyra replied, her voice tense but controlled. "The villain has begun using the faction scouts and probes in coordination. They're no longer isolated tests. Now, they move in concert, probing, testing, and pressuring us simultaneously." Aaron's pulse flared as he extended his senses into the veil. Multiple residual nodes shimmered faintly, interlinked by currents he could trace, a network of observation and subtle influence. "It's like a chessboard," he murmured. "They're orchestrating every pawn, every shadow, every pulse." "Correct," the mentor whispered. "Observation alone is insufficient now. Coordination is key, yours, theirs, and your ability to influence the environment while maintaining synchronization with your partner." From the rooftops above, faint glimmers of semi-solid scouts emerged. Not one, not two, but several, moving in perfect formation, guided by unseen threads. Aaron recognized the patterns immediately, overlapping arcana pulses, minor distortions coordinated to converge upon their paths. "We need to work together," Lyra said, her hands hovering near her own residual currents. "Their coordination tests not only individual skill but ours. One misstep and the currents will betray us." Aaron exhaled, extending his influence subtly. He nudged the currents toward paths that would slow the scouts' approach while not exposing their own manipulations. Lyra mirrored him, layering her own subtle guidance to smooth distortions and mask their presence. "Good," the mentor said. "Anticipate their synchronization. Influence the flow without revealing your hand. Coordination is your strongest weapon." The first wave of scouts surged forward, probing from multiple directions simultaneously. Residual currents pulsed, forming faint trails that revealed their attempts at encirclement. Aaron adjusted instantly, creating subtle bends and redirections in the Arcana flow. Lyra added counterflows, guiding distortions into harmless loops while keeping the path ahead clear. "They're testing timing," Aaron whispered. "How quickly we adapt when multiple threads converge." "And you are mastering it," Lyra said. "Observe patterns, anticipate surges, synchronize influence. Coordination now is not optional, it is survival." Minutes stretched as the scouts approached, tested, and withdrew repeatedly. Aaron and Lyra's subtle influence guided them effortlessly through the shifting maze of currents. Each failed attempt by the scouts reinforced the strength of their coordination. "Excellent," the mentor said. "Every coordinated test you navigate strengthens your combined influence. The faction learns nothing about your limits, but you learn theirs." A sudden surge of energy pulsed through the alley, a combined signature from multiple scouts converging. Aaron projected synchronized pulses, splitting their flow across parallel paths, while Lyra stabilized residual distortions around hidden nodes. The scouts twisted, hesitated, and eventually recoiled, unable to breach their influence. "This is the first true coordinated assault," Aaron whispered. "And we held it." Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly. "We did more than survive," she said. "We controlled the environment, anticipated each surge, and manipulated the currents in harmony. That is the power of coordination." The shadows above shifted again, subtle traces of energy shimmering like threads in a web. Aaron sensed the villain observing, noting every interaction, every subtle adjustment. "They're learning from us now," he said quietly. "Our coordination is teaching them about our capabilities." "Precisely," the mentor said. "And that is why mastery is not just about reaction. It is about influence, foresight, and synchronization. The stronger your coordination, the less the enemy can control or predict." The city pulsed softly, currents aligning and twisting in subtle harmony. Residual nodes faded into harmless patterns, scouts retreating in confusion, unable to penetrate the carefully guided flow. "Tonight," Lyra said, placing a hand on Aaron's shoulder, "we proved that combined influence can neutralize coordinated threats. But remember, the villain has only begun to test us." Aaron nodded, aware that each subtle victory built not only their skill but also their visibility in the enemy's eyes. The alleyway returned to quiet, but the currents hummed with residual energy, the mark of a challenge successfully navigated. "Next," the mentor said, "the villain will escalate beyond coordination. Environmental manipulation, traps, and direct tests are coming. Your mastery of the veil will be challenged further." Aaron exhaled, pulse steady, senses attuned to the shifting currents around them. He and Lyra moved forward, alert and synchronized, ready for the trials yet to come. Aaron's senses were taut, every fiber of his being alert to the shifting currents around them. The alleyway that had felt familiar now pulsed with subtle distortions. He sensed something beyond scouts, beyond residual probes, a presence deliberate, calculated, and unseen. "Do you feel it?" Lyra whispered, her voice barely above the faint hum of the city. Aaron nodded, extending his awareness through the currents. Residual arcana pulsed in irregular patterns, not natural, not chaotic, but designed with intent. "This is different," Aaron murmured. "Stronger, smarter, and it's watching us." "Correct," the mentor's voice echoed in his mind. "The first direct observation. Not an attack yet, but deliberate presence. Someone testing, measuring, calculating." A faint shimmer appeared along a broken rooftop, almost indistinct, like a reflection of light on water. It lingered, pulsing subtly with arcana, enough to be sensed but not fully seen. "There," Lyra whispered, pointing. the first tangible hint of the villain's presence. Aaron focused, tracing the faint signature with his hands, feeling the subtle shifts in energy. Unlike the scouts, which reacted instinctively, this was precise, intentional, deliberate. "They know we're aware," he murmured, "and they're adjusting, without exposing themselves." "Exactly," the mentor said. "This is the intelligence behind their actions. Observation, calculation, influence without exposure. Learn from this, anticipate every subtle ripple." Aaron's pulse flared, sensing threads of energy moving in patterns. The shadow above twisted faintly, leaving behind residual currents that hinted at its movement. "It's testing our anticipation," he said quietly, "and our coordination." Lyra mirrored his subtle influence, nudging the currents to interact with the distortions. The semi-solid shadow pulsed again, retreating slightly, as if noting their response. "They are measuring precision," Lyra whispered. "Every movement, every subtle adjustment, recorded and analyzed." Aaron exhaled, his senses extending further. He mapped the threads, minor distortions from scouts, environmental fluctuations, and now the deliberate influence of this unseen villain. "It's like they're playing several moves ahead," he murmured, "watching how we adapt before deciding the next step." "And that is why observation alone is insufficient," the mentor said. "Coordination, subtle influence, foresight, these are your tools. The veil teaches this through direct presence, even without confrontation." The semi-solid shadow above twisted again, leaving faint residual pulses along rooftops and walls. Aaron detected a subtle rhythm. The villain was not random. Every motion, every pulse was a test, a measure of their skill, timing, and influence. "They're analyzing patterns," he said quietly. "The villain is learning from us as much as we learn from them." Lyra placed a hand lightly on his arm. "Yes," she said, "and you are responding correctly. Subtle influence, anticipation, synchronization. This is the first true observation lesson. The next phase will be more direct." Aaron extended a gentle Arcana pulse, nudging the distortions in alignment. Residual currents responded, revealing the subtle paths the villain had been probing. The shadow pulsed faintly, almost acknowledging the correction. "They are aware of our skill," Aaron said quietly, "and they are preparing the next escalation." "Exactly," the mentor said. "Your first direct observation is not a confrontation, but it is a warning. Learn the rhythm of influence, and prepare for escalation. Coordination and anticipation will define the next engagement." The city hummed softly around them, currents twisting, shifting, and pulsing in faint synchronization with their awareness. Aaron felt connected, attuned, prepared. The villain remained unseen, yet every subtle trace left behind carried a message. The hunt had begun, and they were being measured. "Remember," Lyra said softly, eyes glimmering, "observation alone is not enough. Influence subtly, anticipate, coordinate. The villain sees more than you realize, but so do we." The semi-solid shadow lingered faintly, then vanished into the folds of rooftops and residual currents. Aaron exhaled, pulse steady, senses heightened. "We have felt them," he said, "and we are ready for what comes next." The night remained quiet, yet charged with potential. Every shadow, every residual pulse, every subtle distortion hinted at the challenges awaiting. Aaron and Lyra moved onward, aware, synchronized, and prepared. The streets ahead seemed calm, almost unnaturally so. But Aaron knew better. Residual currents hummed faintly, bending and twisting with subtle, deliberate manipulations. The semi-solid shadow from earlier had vanished, but its presence lingered like a whisper, shaping the environment around them. "They're escalating," Aaron murmured, sensing multiple distortions forming in the currents. "Not just observing, they're testing our reaction speed and anticipation." "Exactly," Lyra replied softly. "The villain now pressures us indirectly. Every subtle fluctuation in the currents is a trial. You must anticipate before it affects you." Aaron extended his senses further, mapping the distortions. Each pulse, each shadow shift, formed patterns, like hidden currents beneath the surface of the veil. "The distortions are converging," he whispered. "They want to overwhelm our perception, make us react instead of anticipate." "And that is the test," the mentor said. "Observe first. Anticipate second. Influence subtly without exposure. Reaction alone is failure." A faint ripple surged along the rooftops, cascading down alleys in layered distortions. Aaron followed instinctively, projecting subtle pulses that guided the currents into manageable paths. Lyra mirrored him, stabilizing residual nodes and redirecting misaligned flows. "Good," the mentor said. "Synchronization is crucial. Anticipation under pressure defines mastery." The distortions intensified, forming overlapping pathways that threatened to entangle their influence. Aaron traced one thread, nudging it gently. Lyra layered another, correcting residual misalignments. The semi-solid shadow pulsed faintly above, almost acknowledging their coordination. "They are testing timing," Aaron whispered. "How quickly we adapt to simultaneous, multi-directional distortions." "And how well we coordinate," Lyra said. "One error, one delayed response, and the entire system could collapse." A sudden surge of energy pulsed through a nearby alley, forcing them to adjust in real time. Aaron projected precise Arcana pulses, bending the distortions into harmless loops. Lyra adjusted minor residual nodes, stabilizing the surrounding currents. "Excellent," the mentor said. "You anticipate rather than react. Observe, align, influence. These are the steps to mastery." But the pressure increased. Distortions formed faster, pulses overlapping in complex patterns. The villain's indirect presence guided the currents deliberately, seeking weaknesses in timing and coordination. "They're forcing us to push coordination to its limits," Aaron said quietly. "Not a trap we can see, but one we can feel." "Exactly," Lyra said. "The veil responds to our mastery, or exposes our errors. Every subtle pulse you detect and adjust strengthens control." Aaron exhaled slowly, projecting subtle waves of influence into the distortions. Residual currents aligned partially, responding to the synchrony between him and Lyra. The semi-solid shadow above pulsed again, faster this time, sending minor fluctuations cascading down multiple streets simultaneously. "Anticipation now must be instinct," the mentor said. "Every pulse, every shadow, every distortion requires immediate understanding and subtle influence. Hesitation is vulnerability." Aaron and Lyra worked in near-perfect harmony, nudging, stabilizing, and aligning the currents with precision. The distortions bent around them, failing to breach their influence. The semi-solid shadow pulsed one last time, a faint acknowledgement before retreating into hidden rooftops and residual currents. "We've maintained control," Aaron whispered, "pulse steady despite the pressure. Under real escalation." They tested coordination, timing, and anticipation, and we held. "Yes," Lyra said softly, eyes glimmering faintly. "But remember, this is only one layer of challenge. The villain will escalate further, introducing direct manipulation, deception, and environmental traps designed to force errors." The city hummed softly around them, currents stabilizing, residual distortions fading. Aaron and Lyra moved forward, aware, synchronized, and prepared. They had survived the first true test under pressure, learned to anticipate, coordinate, and subtly influence the veil. But the path ahead promised trials far greater than these indirect manipulations. The next step, the mentor said, will challenge not only skill but intuition. The villain will act more directly, forcing choices that test judgment, foresight, and control under direct confrontation. Aaron exhaled, pulse calm yet alert. The semi-solid shadow had vanished, but the lesson remained. Anticipation under pressure was now part of their instinct, a necessary skill for survival in the Vale of Arcana. And somewhere above, hidden in the folds of the city, the villain observed, preparing the next test. Aaron and Lyra had grown accustomed to the city's rhythm, the subtle flow of Arcana currents guiding their every step. But tonight, the currents themselves seemed different, deliberately twisted, manipulated with intent beyond the ordinary. "Something's wrong," Aaron murmured, sensing faint ripples along the walls. The residual currents pulsed irregularly, bending around corners and along rooftops in ways that didn't make sense. "These aren't just distortions, they're orchestrated." "Yes," Lyra said softly, her eyes scanning the shifting shadows. "The villain has begun using the environment as a trap. Not scouts this time, not direct attacks. The city itself is a weapon." Aaron extended his senses, feeling the flow of Arcana as it twisted through walls, streets, and residual nodes. Subtle pulses surged from hidden cracks in the buildings, weak traces of manipulation meant to mislead and misdirect. "They're using subtle distortions to guide us into a trap," he whispered. "Exactly," the mentor said. "Observation and influence alone will not suffice. You must anticipate the shifts, predict the distortions, and guide the flow through traps without exposure." A faint shimmer appeared in the alley ahead, a broken lamppost, flickering faintly, casting shadows that seemed to move independently. Residual currents pulsed from it, guiding the distortions along specific pathways. "This is the first real environmental trap," Aaron said quietly. "The city itself is the enemy now." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, steadying him. "Watch the currents carefully. Every subtle pulse, every shifting shadow is a thread of intent. The villain is testing anticipation and subtle influence in real time." Aaron exhaled, projecting a gentle Arcana pulse through the alley. The distortions twisted and shifted, revealing hidden nodes and minor traps embedded in the environment. "They're not just testing movement," he murmured. "They're testing our understanding of flow, control, and coordination." "Good," the mentor said. Anticipation under pressure was preparation. Now you must navigate traps with precision, influence without revealing intent, and guide the currents safely. The first distortion surged violently, a wave of manipulated energy cascading down the alley. Residual currents bent in unnatural angles, guiding shadows to intersect paths and create potential hazards. "Here it comes," Aaron whispered. He nudged the current subtly, bending the flow around hidden nodes. Lyra mirrored his influence, stabilizing distortions and redirecting dangerous pulses into harmless loops. "Excellent," the mentor said. "Coordination is no longer optional, it is survival. One misstep and the traps will breach your influence." Minutes stretched as they navigated multiple layers of environmental distortions. Aaron projected subtle pulses, Lyra adjusted residual nodes, and together they formed a synchronized network of influence. The semi-solid shadow above pulsed faintly, weaving through rooftops, guiding distortions in response to their actions. "They're learning our pattern," Aaron murmured. "Every move we make is being recorded, analyzed." "Correct," Lyra said. "And that is the point. Anticipation, coordination, subtle influence. These are skills tested by indirect manipulation. Each trap reinforces mastery." A sudden surge of energy erupted from a cracked street lamp, pulses cascading along the walls and creating overlapping distortions. Aaron reacted instinctively, projecting layered currents to redirect the energy, while Lyra stabilized residual nodes along the affected paths. The distortions twisted, attempting to create confusion, but their combined influence guided the flow safely around the hidden hazards. "Observe carefully," the mentor said. "Every distortion, every residual pulse, every environmental anomaly is a message. Learn the rhythm, anticipate the next surge, and maintain coordination." Aaron exhaled, sweat prickling along his brow. The environmental traps were more than tests. They were lessons, teaching him how to guide flow under extreme pressure. "We're not just surviving," he murmured. "We're mastering the influence of the environment itself." Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly as she mirrored his thoughts. "And that is why subtlety is essential. Forceful influence exposes intent. Gentle, precise guidance reinforces control." The shadows above twisted again, faint pulses shimmering along rooftops and walls, leaving minor residual distortions as reminders of the villain's presence. "They're observing everything," Aaron said quietly. "Every correction we make, every subtle alignment, being analyzed." "Yes," the mentor said, "and this is preparation." Each environmental trap mastered teaches rhythm, influence, and anticipation, skills you will need against direct confrontation. The alleyway returned to silence, residual currents aligning gently, distortions fading into harmless patterns. Aaron and Lyra exhaled, moving forward, alert yet steady. They had navigated the first true environmental trap, survived under pressure, and reinforced their mastery over the subtle flow of the veil. "Tomorrow," Lyra said softly, eyes glimmering faintly, "the villain will escalate further. Direct manipulation, more complex distortions, and tests of judgment await." Aaron nodded, pulse steady, senses alert. The city hummed softly, currents shimmering faintly, alive with unseen manipulations. The semi-solid shadow had vanished, but the presence lingered, a reminder that the villain's gaze was everywhere, and every move mattered. Aaron paused at the corner of the alley, feeling the city around him pulse differently than before. Residual currents shimmered in overlapping patterns, twisting in ways that defied instinct. The subtle manipulations of the previous traps had been preparatory. This was the first multi-layered Arcana challenge, and every fiber of his being tensed in response. "Do you feel it?" Lyra whispered, eyes scanning the distortions. "The currents, they're layered, overlapping, almost like they're alive." "Yes," Aaron said, extending his senses into the veil. "Not just distortions, but multiple threads moving simultaneously. Each layer interacts with the others. One misstep could unravel everything." "Exactly," the mentor said. "This is a test of mastery, synchronization, and foresight. Observe each layer independently, anticipate interactions, and influence subtly without revealing intent." From rooftops above, faint semi-solid shadows pulsed, leaving residual traces in the currents below. Some twisted in spirals, others flowed in arcs across alleyways, intersecting in complex patterns that threatened to overwhelm perception. "It's beautiful and dangerous," Aaron murmured. "Every distortion is a trap if mismanaged." Lyra mirrored him, her hands hovering near residual nodes. "Focus on coordination first," she said softly. "Every layer has a rhythm. Observe, anticipate, influence. That rhythm is our guide." Aaron projected subtle Arcana pulses, nudging distortions along safer paths. Lyra stabilized residual nodes, creating a synchronized network that gently aligned overlapping currents. "The semi-solid shadow above is watching," he said quietly. Adjustments in one layer trigger reactions in others. Correct, the mentor said. Every action must consider ripple effects across layers. Anticipation under pressure is no longer optional, it is survival. A sudden surge erupted from a cracked street lamp, pulses cascading through multiple layers simultaneously. Residual currents bent unpredictably, intersecting and forming potential hazards. Aaron and Lyra worked instinctively, nudging, aligning, and stabilizing each layer in real time. "They're testing precision," Aaron whispered. "Not speed alone, coordination across layers." Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly as she projected subtle adjustments, stabilizing distortions that threatened to cascade into chaos. "Yes," she said. "Every subtle influence must harmonize with others. One error, and all layers collapse." Minutes stretched as the multi-layered distortions shifted, converged, and threatened to spiral out of control. Aaron traced a faint residual thread, nudging it into alignment with adjacent currents. Lyra responded instantly, adjusting a parallel node, synchronizing influence across multiple layers. "Excellent," the mentor said. "Observe, anticipate, and harmonize. Mastery lies not in force, but in subtle, layered influence." The semi-solid shadow pulsed rapidly above, weaving through rooftops, guiding distortions, adjusting dynamically in response to their movements. Aaron felt the pressure rising, not physical, but mental, a test of focus and foresight. "They want us to falter," he whispered, "to reveal our limits." "And we won't," Lyra said, her voice steady, yet tense. "Coordination and subtle influence are our greatest weapons. Let the distortions challenge us. They only strengthen our mastery if we remain synchronized." A massive surge cascaded through the layers, overlapping in complex spirals, threatening to trap their influence. Aaron projected layered pulses, splitting the distortions into manageable flows. Lyra stabilized residual nodes, redirecting intersecting currents into loops that neutralized potential hazards. "This is the first real multi-layered challenge," Aaron said. "Pulse steady despite the pressure. And we are mastering it." "Yes," the mentor said. "Observation, synchronization, subtle influence, and anticipation under pressure. These are the lessons. Every successful alignment reinforces mastery." The semi-solid shadow above pulsed one last time, then faded into hidden rooftops, leaving faint residual currents as markers of their skill. Aaron exhaled, pulse steady, senses attuned to the layered distortions around them. "We've survived," he murmured quietly. "Not just survived, we controlled it." Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly as she nodded. "And the villain knows. Every layer we mastered, every subtle influence we applied, they have recorded. But so have we learned." The city returned to a faint hum, residual currents aligning gently, distortions fading. Aaron and Lyra moved forward, aware, synchronized, and ready for what awaited beyond the veil. "Next," the mentor said, "the villain will escalate to direct arcana manipulation and environmental traps designed to force choice. Judgment and foresight will be tested more than skill." Aaron exhaled, pulse calm yet alert. The semi-solid shadow may have vanished, but the lesson remained. Multi-layered coordination was now instinct, and the next challenge would push them further. The alley opened into a wider street, deceptively calm. Residual currents pulsed faintly, bending around corners and rooftops in ways Aaron and Lyra could barely follow. "Do you sense it?" Lyra whispered, eyes narrowing as she scanned the currents. "This isn't a distortion, it's a deliberate test." "Yes," Aaron murmured, extending his senses into the veil. "Every residual pulse, every twisting shadow is guiding us toward choices." "Exactly," the mentor said. "The villain introduces the first forced choice trap. observation, anticipation, and subtle influence alone will not suffice. You must decide, judge, and influence simultaneously. Ahead, two streets diverged sharply, each pulsing faintly with residual arcana. One path hummed with cool, steady energy, shadows stretching like frozen fingers. The other crackled with unstable distortions, faint pulses bending unnaturally, nodes flickering and collapsing intermittently. "Which way?" Aaron whispered. "Both paths seem dangerous." "That's the point," Lyra said softly. "The villain tests judgment. One choice maintains influence, the other compromises control. The trick is subtlety. We cannot force influence. We guide, anticipate, and harmonize with the currents." Aaron exhaled slowly, extending his perception along both paths. Residual currents responded differently to subtle pulses. The first path, steady, controlled, predictable. The second, chaotic, unstable, reactive. "They're measuring judgment, foresight, and subtle influence," he murmured. "One wrong step, one overcorrection, and the trap triggers." Lyra mirrored him, projecting tiny adjustments along the currents of both paths, subtly guiding distortions toward stability without forcing alignment. "Excellent," the mentor said. "Your coordination now extends beyond reaction. Judgment under forced choice defines mastery." Aaron stepped forward cautiously along the first path, sending layered pulses into residual currents. Nodes aligned, shadows bent slightly in response, distortions neutralized just enough to remain manageable. "This path, it responds to subtle influence," he said quietly. "Control is maintained, but any overreaction could destabilize it." Lyra followed, synchronizing influence with his pulses. Together, they nudged distortions, harmonizing the flow and preventing cascading failures. Residual currents shimmered faintly, revealing minor deviations that hinted at the villain's observation. "They're watching timing," Aaron whispered. "How quickly we adjust under uncertainty." "And how well we harmonize," Lyra replied. "Every subtle correction, every influence must consider the other's actions. One misalignment, and the trap activates." A sudden surge pulsed from the chaotic side path. Flickering distortions bent violently toward their current route. "They're forcing us to choose precisely," Aaron said, projecting layered pulses to counteract intrusion. Lyra mirrored instantly, stabilizing residual nodes to guide distortions back into harmless loops. "Excellent," the mentor said. "Anticipation, subtle influence, judgment, perfectly applied. The trap tests choice, but mastery lies in harmony and foresight." As they progressed, minor distortions along the first path shifted suddenly, a subtle signal from the semi-solid shadow above. Aaron sensed it, a reminder that the villain watched, learning from every decision, every adjustment. "Observation alone is insufficient now," the mentor whispered. "You must anticipate, decide, and influence simultaneously. The villain will escalate these forced choice traps repeatedly." A complex weave of distortions formed ahead, branching into multiple minor paths, each pulsing with faint arcana energy. "Multiple layers now," Lyra murmured. "We must guide subtly across all branches simultaneously." Aaron extended influence to each branch, nudging currents, aligning distortions, and neutralizing minor hazards. Lyra mirrored perfectly, stabilizing residual nodes, coordinating subtle influence to maintain harmony. The city seemed alive, every crack, every shadow, every residual pulse part of a calculated test. "The villain is teaching through traps," Aaron said quietly. "Every forced choice we navigate, every subtle adjustment we make, reinforces mastery." Minutes stretched as they navigated overlapping distortions, each decision critical. Residual currents shimmered in response to subtle influence, Shadows bent predictably, and minor hazards dissolved before fully manifesting. We controlled it, Aaron whispered. Not just survived, controlled. Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly. Yes, she said. The villain measures judgment under pressure, but so far, we remain synchronized. Subtle influence and foresight triumph over direct force.